Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors. Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
And all right, good afternoon. It is day two, first day of our floor sessions here at AEA 2023. And we're starting off with the bigwigs here. We're starting off with the boss. I'd like to introduce Mike Adamson, who is the president and CEO of the Aircraft Electronics Association, our partners for many, many years, our 15th year of streaming. How you put up with us for 15 years, I will never know. But for the moment, it's been a fun project. We got through the NPIs yesterday, 33, I think.
33, yeah.
A lot of great news, a lot of exciting stuff in the industry, both from the standpoint of the end user as well as internal in the industry, whether it be a test stand or a measurement system or a new set of tools. This is an industry that has gotten past the pandemic and has had to help build aviation up to where it needs to be, pandemic notwithstanding. And I like what I'm hearing from the floor. There's a lot of activity. Mike, can you take the temperature of things to tell us how things are going right now for the aircraft and avionics community?
Absolutely. First of all, congratulations on 15-year partnership. We certainly appreciate everything.
Longer than my marriage.
It's half the length of mine, actually. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm impressed now.
Yeah. We're proud to work with you, and thank you for the coverage that we get. The temperature, look, you said it. It's post-pandemic. This is I don't like new normal, but this is back to normal, back to what we're used to pre-ADSB. We were in Palm Springs. It was 2019, and we had similar numbers. We had a similar vibe, energy, and we've got that here. We are well ahead of last year as far as our numbers go, and that's growing every day. We're just the first day into the actual trade show part, so we're excited. And from what I'm hearing, leading up to the show, and while I've been talking to the shops and the OEMs while I'm here, we are warm, not hot, as there are certainly economic pressures, and maybe some of the demand is softening a little bit, but the backlogs are strong. Maybe we've shaved a month off of those for some of the shops, but they're happy with the supply chain improvements. The OEMs have been working really hard to fix those, and they should be commended for that effort. And the shops are able to work their magic to accommodate their customers. It's not perfect, but working extra hard to smooth out some of those kinks, and they're excited about that. So I think the thing you'll see this year that maybe we haven't in the last couple is that we're starting to see new product introductions, that innovations that maybe stalled for a little bit with the fact that these OEMs had to go back and re-engineer some of the products just to ship something we all were familiar with, right? And so I think that paused some of the R&D work, and now you're starting to see some of those things kind of improve a little bit. So some new innovations yesterday, and some things to be excited about on the floor today. So maybe warm is not the right word. It's still hot, I guess, comparatively hot to the prior years.
Okay.
Enough to be excited about for sure.
Well, the only problem with all that is it cheated us of our drinking game from last year, where the joke was every time somebody mentioned a supply problem, you had to take a shot.
Yeah.
And by the end of particular day 2, we would all been flat on our whats
Right.
at that point. But I'm glad to hear that supply chain issues are easing, because that has been the bottleneck throughout the last 2 years in particular.
Yeah.
And it's starting to ease. It's not over. But it's definitely, there's a perceptible sense of early relief that, I'm actually going to get something this year.
Yeah.
So, yay for that. The industry overall didn't contract per se, size-wise in regards to the pandemic. It certainly inhibited a lot of things, but they used that opportunity as necessary to do what they could do with staff, because retraining is such a bear. But how do you see the overall health right now? Is this industry in a position to go forward as things hopefully continue to improve?
We're certainly in a position to go forward. I think the challenge will be, it's still going to be people. Any technical, in any industry, frankly, it's not just technical, but we compete with technical. Any industry is facing, challenges with hiring people, right? And we definitely have that problem. We've got some solutions we're working on. We've hired a new workforce development focused staff, and that will start with us in June. We're excited about that, and some of the projects we've got sort of working on behind the scenes that we'll be telling members in the industry about in the coming months. But we still have a lot of work ahead of us, and I think as supply chain starts to improve, if the shops are still talking about backlog, you have to think that that's tied to the fact that they don't have enough people. And so we still have work to do because there's still backlogs 4 to 6 months, even longer for some. And if they had more people, they could do more work. And so, that hasn't cooled at all. That's still an issue for us.
Regulatory front, especially the FAA. That's, of course, with recent news,
Yeah.
nobody knows where that's going to land. What is your prognosis for the short term in regards to how this industry can relate to and work with the FAA? And what do you see as the biggest concerns for the future?
Yeah, so I've always said we have a really good working relationship with them, and we do. Obviously, Rick does a wonderful job working with headquarters, working in the field offices. We've got an outstanding relationship. I think if we had to nitpick, it's going to be things that we hear from other industries or our partners in other associations, and that's some of the inconsistencies from district office to district office, maybe some of the lack of experience from the inspector workforce. But I know there are efforts to improve their knowledge of what we're doing. We've got an outstanding contingency here this week. We didn't have that last year. So we're starting to see, a concerted effort to get them more involved and familiar with what we're working on. It's not overnight. I know there's still issues on the certification side. As you get higher up into the Part 25 world, there's still some issues. And if you're just doing small aircraft, minor alteration type, you're not really bothered by that. But what you might be bothered by is the lack of a full-time administrator, reauthorization coming up, and some of those things that you may not fully understand the impact of, but there's a trickle-down effect later on. And those are concerns. I'd voice the same concerns that all of our partners have with, we need someone in place. We need GA focus for the FAA. And and that's talked about, and I appreciate that's being done. We need to see what that means.
Especially with that now becoming a tier of reauthorization.
Right.
Yay, Sam.
Right. I applaud him, and thankfully he's so close to the GA world that we can count on him for that push. Yeah. We're going to need that, right? And so, but it's not overnight. It's going to take years for that to get fixed, and I think we'll continue the collaborative effort, but we still have a lot of work to do. And that honestly, that tune's changed a little bit from prior years. We didn't know what we didn't know, when things were kind of up in the air with where the health crisis is. But we're through that, and we need to be in contact with our inspectors and them understanding the work that we're doing. So hopefully we're headed that direction.
Since he's no doubt watching this live presentation right now, what advice would you give to President Biden in his next nomination for FAA Administrator? Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe. I think the focus that we have to have, we hate to see Billy step down, because I think you would have heard from I think all of my peers that would have been a great choice. So I think we missed an opportunity there, and I would say don't make this political.
Oh.
Right? And I think it was sort of headed there, and we don't need that. We need experience. And the GA community is okay with someone with airline experience. We know they came from the GA community to get there, right?
As long as he can spell aileron.
Right. I mean, we know that. So if they have that experience and they can lead people, I think that's keep the politics out of it.
Well, the problem right now is Washington is so politically charged that the only advice I give to anybody about anything right now is try to keep the politics out of it, because the slightest hint of anything is going to set off one side or another.
Exactly.
And that's the life we have to live in right now.
Right. We're all going for sound bites, I think,
and not very good ones.
Yeah, or clicks or whatever it is that they're after. And I struggle with that, because we're getting away from the things that we need to be focusing on that will help this community. And there are good people that might be avoiding it because of that. We're losing the potential for talent, or scaring them away by making it political or bipartisan or partisan.
Well, let's switch from addressing Uncle Joe to the folks that really matter out there, the end users, the pilots, the shops, and so forth. What directions do you see this industry needing to take both from a survival as well as a growth strategy. We may have some potential issues economically coming up, if they're not here already.
Right.
And then at the same time, aviation is one of those things that is affected but does ride out all storms. Aviation has become more and more critical. The ability to get to one place or another, even in an age of almost instant communication, audio, video, you name it, it still is never substituted for sitting out and starting with a handshake. So business-wise, recreationally, commercially, what have you, the importance to the country is phenomenal. But what's the advice you would give for both tracks, survival as well as growth?
Yeah, I think we sat here a couple of years ago and just talked about how resilient this industry is. You know, when we were shutting down businesses and we could remain open because we were essential workers, we understood how resilient. In fact, had some pretty good years in there where people were spending their money on their airplanes and enjoying a robust pipeline of products and outfitting their aircraft with the latest and greatest. So that was great, right? And we've proven our resiliency. I think going forward, we've got a new set of circumstances. If you consider there still are supply chain issues, now we have interest rate hikes, we have inflationary pressures, price of fuel, discretionary spending's being challenged, the market's, up and down. There's all of these factors, and I think for our smaller businesses, making business easier, simply that, making business easier is the survival piece, right? And that means the regulatory constraints are smoothed, the access to products, the access to installation data and the training and the number of people that we can recruit to this industry to help them. If we can do that and we can keep that foundation strong, everything feeds up from that, right? We're the entry to aviation. We know that, we recognize that, and we're proud of it. And if we can grow that and continue that base, we see the results at all levels as you go up. So I think one thing leads to the other in that case.
Well, let me put you on the spot.
All right.
Never happened before, right?
No.
AEA's role in all this. I mean, we look at various associations, various segments of the industry. There are some good ones. There are quite a few not so good ones. We've always appreciated and frankly thought AEA was one of the best, if not the best, that we'd worked with and seen in the industry. But you have played a pivotal role in certain aspects of this industry in the past, taken some real interesting leaps, the market reports and so forth that help provide guidance for the industry. What isn't AEA doing that it needs to do for the future of this industry?
Honestly, we talked about that at our board meeting before the show.
We had our spies there, so. Yeah.
Well, if you're talking to me, I'll tell you, right? I will let you know. We talk about communicating what we do for this industry better. As a staff and as a board, we're pretty proud of the things we do, and there's quite a few for a small team. And I don't know that word gets out and that gets shared subsequently. If we're not talking about the things we're doing and the impact we have with our relationships at the FAA, at headquarters or in the field, if we're not talking about that and letting people know the work that we're doing, we're not helping. And so as an association, it's going to be a focus for us. And then of course, the things that everybody's talking about, the workforce side, the regulatory piece, the advocacy, continuing to grow, the marketplace that we're really proud of. We're the only ones in this particular space, and so we've got to take ownership of that and continue to invite new people, new technologies, new airframes, new maintainers, installers, and do our part there. So we've got a lot to work on. We're not perfect. We're proud of what we've done. And we're excited about the future. There's a lot of things changing. We call them the technology experts, and they prove it to us every year with what they bring out. We just have to stay ahead of that curve.
I'll tell you what, like I said, not to blow any air up your skirt, AEA has consistently proven to us to be one of the most effective organizations out there. But to be perfectly honest, it's been the strength of key people. Before it was Paula, then you, Rick Perry. Holy smokes! If there's anybody that knows the regulatory situation in Washington better than Rick Perry, then bring him on over. I need to talk to that person. Rick's a bloody genius in that regard, and obviously being recognized this week for many years of service. Other people within your organization, there's so many of them that have stood out and in their areas have taken control. Who are the future leaders in AEA?
Great question.
Trick question.
Good one. Let me comment about Rick first, because it was so neat to experience that yesterday with his recognition for the Charles Taylor Master Mechanic. I've worked with him for 20 plus years. We've worked very closely on a lot of things.
One of his short-term relationships.
Yes, right. I've known him for half of the time that it took for him to get the Charles Taylor. But I'll just say this: regardless of the fact that he's an A&P or a mechanic working in an avionics world, that man has done more to represent the repair station and avionics business in the history of this organization, frankly. He has worked so hard to represent our members and their interests, the small businesses, to recruit the next generation, to keep their model in mind when working on regulations that will benefit them. So it's been an honor and privilege. I feel very lucky to have worked with him. He's mentored me on a lot of his regulatory things, right? And so just credit to him. And so I was really thrilled to be a part of that. And I hope we did it, as best we could to honor him. And so that was neat.
Tremendous.
Yeah, and so when you think about the
best
future,
part is we cut it all, so he just watch it over and over.
That's
and over.
right. Yeah, and I'm sure he will.
Rick Perry's greatest hits.
Yeah, he deserves the love this week for all of that work, and whatever I can do to help shine the light on him, I will. And I think when you think about the next generation, those are unicorns, right? There's few like him, but we do have some people, and Rick and I talk all the time about how we fill our shoes and how we continue the legacy of this association. And so, not giving anything away, but we're always looking to that. What can we do to bring up somebody else that can continue this legacy? And that's a tough job, right? But there are folks out there. There's very, very bright people that understand who we are, have been with us for a while, and can carry the torch easily. So I'm not as concerned as you might think. I also don't want to stop this train either. We have a really, really strong team, and I think we've got a few more years in us. Yep. So I'm mindful of that too, because the talent, you've worked with most of them, and we do a lot. For a team of 9, soon to be 10, we do quite a bit. I'm very proud of that.
Well, that's the part that's been really amazing, of what you've accomplished with comparative to so many other organizations, such a small team.
Yeah.
And on top of it, it's especially under Paula, it was fun to see a team that was so, for lack of a better word at this point, diverse, but for no other reason than they were the best people in the job.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. Yeah. I talked to Paula yesterday briefly. Unfortunately, she couldn't stick around to be with us today because of personal appointments. But she had mentioned that coming back to this and seeing everything that has occurred since she left the leadership of the organization was both humbling as well as exciting, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stamp of approval from someone who did it so well for so long. It was great to see her and have everybody recognize her for the work she did for so many years. And so I'm just fortunate to be a part of that and continue it and maybe put my stamp on it too. But I'm in no rush. We know where we're at with that, and we've got a lot of opportunities, and hopefully we're capitalizing on them, and our members are recognizing the efforts that we've made. We first year out of the chute, we shut down our show. Yeah. Heck of a start, right? Yeah. So we've climbed back from that.
You're the boss, and oh, by the way, you're also the executioner.
Yeah, turn it off, right? First time ever, you're the guy. But we survived that. The association's strong. The board has made some really good decisions with what we're doing with our finances, and we're attracting the right people to this business, and it's continuing to grow there. So we're making the right decisions.
Let's talk about that aspect of it for a moment. We're slowly transitioning from a point where a lot of people weren't working to, oh my gosh, I got to work again, but what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And a lot of people either midlife or what have you, starting to look at careers in industries like this and having to train and so forth. But what people don't understand is that entry level in this is not that difficult.
Yeah.
What advice do you give to people who are looking for restarting their lives, especially in an industry this technical?
You're gonna love this answer. Google avionics training.
Okay, can do that.
You'll find us.
Yeah.
You'll find us. And when you do, you'll find that we have classes for you
Yes.
at any level where you can get started. Simple as that. We see it all the time. So we do some basic training classes at our headquarters. We have career changers. We have airline pilots that say, you know, I'm kind of pulled back from that. I want to, you know, maybe want to do something with their own plane. I want to understand more what this is about. Great. We can train you on finishing your own airplane if you're building your own. Mm-hmm. Interesting how many come to us and say, you know, I've had some work done at one of these shops and I see an interest in that myself and I want to start my own. What does it take? Well, we'll incubate your 145 because we have a gentleman that knows a little bit about that, teaches a class.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, and we've got, we've got industry instructors that we contract with that they're just top notch. And I'm glad you asked that because we see a few career changers that come in, get exposed to the association, get training, and then leave thinking, I can do this. And they're right, they can't. Now, I can't help you with the queue to get your 145 repair station. I can't expedite that for you. That queue is pretty big, and we're working on that. You will get in line with that, but at the same time, you still get started. And give you the tools you need to start the business, understand what you're doing, and you're right, start the basics of it. And before you know it, we've seen there's many today that started that way. So yeah, start with, you can go to our website, of course, but if you Google avionics training, you'll find us first, after the ads, of course. Yeah. And then go to our training and give us a call.
Excellent. To the general aviation community, the operators, the pilots who are struggling to keep up with the technology and depending on it, literally, life and limb at times, what can you tell them about the state of the industry and something that helps them maintain their confidence in an aspect of their lives that's been sacrosanct? I mean, if you can't, trust your IFD, 540, what can you trust? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it parallels any technology industry, right? The manufacturers of the equipment are very cognizant of that and do a really good job. And I've seen this transition, by the way. I've been at this a while. They do a really good job of making training and video, access available so that you can stay ahead of that. So I think if you have an appetite for staying ahead of the power curve, you're fine. I think if you climb into some of these cockpits, the displays are maybe more simple, but their capabilities are tenfold what they used to be. That can be daunting, but the tools are there. I think I can speak for all the manufacturers on the floor that there's, a concerted effort to create that kind of training and make it available for free, or they can approach them at, any one of the big shows that the public's typically at, talk to their sales representatives and understand the equipment. So the resources are there if you're interested. And I think that's just continuing to grow. So, applause to the manufacturers for that. And if we're falling short and it's in a gap that the association can fill, we'll jump on it.
When you started this gig, think back for a moment to working that from that standpoint till now. What surprises have come your way?
Jim.
That's a trick question. You realize that?
Yeah, because it's been a while, right? In my early days were naval aviation, and then obviously I was with an OEM before transitioning to the trade association. So I got to see really the introduction of the color moving map. That's kind of my floor there. And to think where it's at today, the miniaturization of technology, the proliferation of that color screen across the cockpit, and then the price points you can purchase that at, the connectivity that you can enable it at, it's mind-blowing. It's hard to imagine where it will go. There's obvious things. There's AI, there's voice, there's things that you just see in consumer electronics are going to parallel. And it's just hard to imagine how you can improve on what we've already got, and it's happening. I think if you went back to even my first, training class where I was doing a KX-155 and a KLN-89B to a CDI and working on this. And behind the scenes, the wiring, there's still a lot of that's the same. There's a lot of things, but But the data connectivity, the Wi-Fi connect, all that's been added to it is enabling all kinds of really neat things. And it's as a technophile myself, it's just fun to watch that.
Well, you have to be on that job.
You have to.
Yeah,
You have
absolutely.
to.
I know you've got a hard break coming up and business to conduct on behalf of the association and the industry. But last words, what do you want to tell this industry in 2023 after a pandemic, going into an interesting future, getting past supply chain issues, transitions in FAA, so forth and so on? How we doing, boss?
We're doing great. We're doing great, and I want to say thank you to the folks that come to this show every year.
A lot of them. Look at this. It's busy
fantastic.
out there.
We're well ahead of last year's numbers. I mean, when I say we're doing great, we are. And I just want to say thank you to them, to the customers that keep these businesses going, to the folks that confide in these shops with their lives on their aircraft. You've come to the right place. If these people are involved, if your repair station, your avionics shop is involved with the association, you can trust that they're working hard on their own professional development, their own understanding of the regulations, their appreciation for safety. You're in good hands. And so to those folks that are working with those shops, thank you. And thank you to the folks that come here and support us, and then, of course, the manufacturers that make this all go as well. We're in great shape.
I think you are. Judge, all you have to do is look at the floor, hear the tenor of the conversations, and so forth, to know that this is an exciting industry, a healthy industry, a strong industry, and there are some people out here set to do some business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, for the rest of aviation that turns on what happens in avionics, all they can do is just simply go, yeah, escape that bullet. So there we go. Alrighty, folks, we're in for a break here for a few moments. I can't thank Mike enough for spending some time with us. This, by the way, is the 66th AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Palms and Resort in Kissimmee, Florida. Are we in Orlando or Kissimmee, actually, here?
Orlando.
We're right on the edge. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought we were on the edge of Kissimmee. I don't know. Without my GPS, I'm lost, folks. I'm serious. We have a really good guest lineup coming up. I'm excited by the folks we're going to get a chance to talk to. But we're going to take a little break for crass commercial messaging, so I get paid. And we'll look forward to catching back up to you here in just a few moments. This is the Aero-News Network live at AEA 2023.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Unbridled passion, unequaled performance, unlimited possibilities.
Hartzell Aviation, you are cleared for takeoff.
Introducing Hartzell Aviation, leading general aviation companies united by the Hartzell guiding principle of built on honor, a commitment to uphold the highest standards in quality, performance, and support. Hartzell Propeller, Hartzell Engine Tech, Hartzell Aerospace Welding. We are Hartzell Aviation.
Now boarding at hartzellaviation.com.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated. An even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Alrighty, folks, welcome to the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show out in the Gaylord Palms Resort in Orlando, Florida. Although we're having a little question of whether we're actually in Kissimmee or Orlando, but close enough for government work. It's just down the road from the mouse. At any rate, we are continuing with our interview series for today. It's going to be an interesting group of folks. I'd like to introduce Jonathan Pinson first to talk from Airtext to talk about a new program that you've got. Fill us in first on what's happening right now with the Oasis program, and then from there to what's happening with Airtext.
Yeah, so we've had our Airtext product line for a few years now, and we've had a lot of customers say they want us to do some entertainment functions with that. And so we've tossed it around for a few years. We actually started this SDC project back a couple years back. So this has been a product that's in the making for a long time. And essentially what our goal was is to create an oasis of relaxation in the cabin. We've had a lot of people, when we try to talk to them about Airtext, they say, being in the back of the aircraft on our trip is my time to disconnect or my happy time. So we've tried to really create a product that lets people use their own devices, lets them use really high quality noise canceling AirPods to where they can really just relax in the back of the aircraft until they're up to get to their destination.
Nothing like being entertained en route.
Nothing like being entertained en route. First world problems, right?
Yep. Well, we got to keep everybody behind the firewall happy one way or another.
That's true.
So how are you building both the hardware and software for this? How does this work out?
Yeah, so actually we have a box right here. We used a lot of the same principles as our Airtext box, and so it's actually on the same STC.
Obviously, a bit more bandwidth.
Yep. So it's on the same STC, but we've added a lot more functionality. So with Airtext, we could do email, talk, text, WhatsApp. We could do moving map functionality. We did a lot of pilot features. This is more centered or focused on entertainment content. And so we can do, it has multiple audio inputs, so you could wire audio into it like an aux in and share it with everybody on board. You could load it up with audio or video files, and anyone on board can stream and access those. It actually has 2 channels of satellite radio, so you could have anybody on board tapping into their favorite news channel or music station.
Howard Stern, where are you, man?
Where are you? So you're listening to that on your own device, and you're using your own noise canceling earpods that give you a really good voice quality or sound quality in the back of the aircraft. So we also have added some feature. There's a lot of people that said, hey, we want something that these airframes, when they make them, when you deliver a brand new clean slate airplane, the technology in the back is 5 to 10 years old by the time the aircraft is delivered and certified. So another one of our goals was to be able to give new life to an older aging airframe. So you could put this box in, and now you added
much easier to upgrade the older airframe than replace the old airframe.
Oh yeah. So
also cheaper.
much cheaper.
Big time.
And so you can take this box and put it in the airplane, and now, as far as the entertainment and the technology, you've just increased you brought it up a decade as far as technology's going. So it has a Wi-Fi router built inside of it, along with those other features. We can also do hardwired moving
You're
map.
putting 5 pounds in a 2 pound bag in this puppy, aren't you?
It's dense. It's right around 3 pounds, but there's a lot in there.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
HTML, okay. You got it all covered in there.
Yeah. So
I need that in my office, much less my airplane.
the idea is with Airtext, we're giving you a very low cost, high value connectivity solution. And then with Oasis, it does the entertainment stuff that Airtext didn't do before. So with both of our products, now you have you put in 2 boxes, you have an all-in-one entertainment and connectivity solution for the whole aircraft.
Interesting. Talk to me about installation issues, where, when, how much,
Yeah.
and what are the shops telling you about the process?
So the box has so much to offer that you could really make the installation as easy or as difficult as you'd like. So if just on the most basic side, if you wanted to do a moving map audio video server, it might just be give it power and hook up flight data to it, and that's it. Everyone accesses the content wirelessly through the devices, so that's a pretty simple install. But we also have a lot of digital inputs and outputs and digital I/O, so someone could, like if, for example, drive some cabin lights with this thing. So depending on where the installer wanted to go with it and what peripherals the customer wanted to control with this thing, it could complicate the install. We're targeting right around a $20,000 list price, which we think, from what we've been talking to, we just announced it yesterday, so we're getting good feedback that it's going to fill a niche in the market where there's not a lot of options. It's either a huge, really expensive CMS,
All or nothing?
all or nothing, or there's not a lot of options. So we feel like we're going to be able to fill a niche there.
What are the shops telling you?
Sounds easy. We've done really, really well with all the shops with our Airtext product. Typically an install for an Airtext is you give it power, you give it flight data, and you hook it up to an Iridium antenna. And I brought one here. It's very small. There's a lot of airplanes that already have the Iridium antennas already on them that maybe have been used with an older system. It's easy to get engineering and put these on your aircraft. Some of the new stuff that we saw yesterday, the antennas were like bigger than a skateboard. And so for a lot of our customers, they're flying Part 23 jets, turboprops, this makes a lot of sense for them.
Well, smaller the better, especially when you start getting up into those flight regimes. Huh, I'll be darned. But do you have a rough idea at this point on estimated installation times?
I'm thinking anywhere between 25 and 40 hours would be an estimate if it's a more basic install. Now, if they're going to be adding all this, doing the CMS control that this box can do, then I can't really, I don't know what that would entail. But just our solution, if you needed to put in a satellite radio antenna and the box itself, it should be relatively easy to do.
Interesting. And where did this whole program come from? What was its genesis?
So we had been tossing the idea around for an entertainment solution for a long time. And COVID happened and business was booming and we had the chip shortage, and so it kind of got put on pause for a little bit because it was, well, you don't want to design a new product if you don't know if you're going to be able to build it next month. And so luckily the chip shortage and some of that stuff, the supply chain stuff, have resolved themselves, and we were able to identify the hardware platform. And based on what our customers' requirements were, we were able to identify what this needed to be and what it needed to do. We were approached by an OEM that said, hey, we need a solution, and they gave us a set of requirements. And so we've taken that, but we've tried to expand upon that to be a great solution for the aftermarket community as well.
Well, you guys have done some smart work heretofore. Let's go back over the Airtext program at this point, because it's been a while since we've had you guys on air. Where's that program at right now? How's it going, and what's new?
Yes, so Airtext is doing very well. We're setting records every month, quarters. We're probably around 1,200, 1,300 aircraft now using Airtext.
Really?
Yes.
Excellent. That's excellent penetration.
Yeah, we have. There's now 3 OEMs that have it on airframes. It's a line fit option on one airframe and factory options on 2. And all the shops. We're glad to see all of our dealers here, but most all the avionics shops are installing it as well. We're getting really good, the shops love it because it's easy to install, but not only that, our customers love it. It provides a great value to them, and it's a low-cost option. Our system doesn't do full-blown internet, so you're not going to be going to YouTube or streaming, but it does allow you to do the key things that a lot of people are looking for, which is email, talk, text, moving map, and WhatsApp functionality for a fraction of the cost. One of our customers, we saw him earlier today, but he said, we give you 90% of the functionality for 10% of the cost. And
that's a pretty good trade.
A lot of people are looking for just the basic communication without the thousands and thousands of dollars every month for their connectivity bill. So typically, an Airtext customer might pay, $1,500 a year is a good estimate for how much they would pay for their connectivity.
Mm-hmm. That's dropping the bucket compared to other solutions at this point.
Yeah, and again, it's not full-blown internet, but a lot of these guys, they don't need that. They're not looking to do all that stuff while they're in flight.
Where do you go from here with that program?
At this point, they're two separate boxes, but we are looking, and there's some ideas, and maybe we'll be giving you some news next year, but integrating the Airtext with the Oasis box is something that we have on the horizon.
Okay.
And so we got some things we're tossing around, but nothing ready to announce yet.
And again, going back to the beginning here, as I understood at the time, Airtext installations themselves are fairly simple.
Yep.
Installation times being about what?
25 to 50 hours, depending on the interior removal.
Okay. And then
the hardest part is actually putting the antenna on the airplane.
Yeah,
if they need an antenna, they got to pull the headliner down, and some airplanes that's much more labor intensive than others.
Plus, just placement tends to be a real bear these days. Antennas are about as persnickety as ex-wives. It's just really tough,
Luckily, and that's why I brought this, it's so small, it's really easy to get this on a lot of different airframes. And so you don't have to find a huge area to put the antenna on.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've been interested to see how this whole thing sprang out a couple of years ago. We spoke to David and the rest. It's been fun to see it continue, but obviously it's a big leap with the Oasis program. How can people get more information, and what parts of the market are you targeting specifically?
So great questions, Jim. You can go to our website, www.goairtext.com. Through there, we have all kinds of resources on the webpage. We actually have a dealer portal that most of the guys here have access to with some technical information. And then you can contact us definitely through the website as well. As far as we're about to finish the STC, and then we should be ready to supply our STC. Our OEM is working on their own STC. Ours, we're targeting to be done by the end of May, and then availability for the aftermarket in June.
And what airframes are you targeting initially?
Our STC is on the Citation 10, but we're targeting all cabin aircraft. Mm-hmm. We believe that with our STC and our data, there'll be a lot of people that can get it installed. But we're talking about doing an AML as well.
I was about to say AML forthcoming.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, what else is you got to be thinking about what's the next big thing for you guys. So just between you and me, and ignore the camera, what's next in the Airtext quiver of arrows here?
Yeah, well, we think that we'll have our work cut out for us. Just we're growing Oasis and getting that many aircraft, adding features and functionality and integrations with other systems, and who knows where we'll go from there. But
as again, I enjoyed watching the process and the progress that has been made heretofore. Would certainly appreciate the chance to talk to you, and look forward to seeing what's next time we sit down and talk. Sure. Awesome. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jim.
All righty, folks, it's time for another break. This one may be extended a little bit. We're playing musical guests right now, and you know how much fun that is on a crowded trade show floor. A couple things I will do for housekeeping. Keep in mind that yesterday we did 33 new product introduction presentations, several hours worth of work. It went off awfully well. We've been having fun fighting equipment issues back and forth because you go from one place to the next, bounce it from one place to the next, and all kinds of havoc ensues. But our magician behind the curtain, Nathan Cremasino, manages to keep it all operating, and we're appreciative of that particular effort, and more important than anything else, the fact that the gods of electronics have decided to rule in our favor. So for the moment, we are at the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We will be back in a few minutes. We've got a pretty interesting lineup today. Tom Harper from Avidyne is due to make an appearance. Greg Ledbetter from PS Engineering. Our old buddy Sergio from Gogo Business Aviation, and we're going to be talking Gogo 5G in a big way, especially now that they're talking all the United States and Canada. So that's going to be exciting. And then above and beyond that, Gary Reeves from Pilot Safety. And we've got Matt Hara from Mid-Continent. There's much more coming up down the stream, so we will be talking to you shortly. Again, this is the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. Watch our commercial messages, go out, buy stuff, make our sponsors happy, so I get to eat lunch. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Thank you. This is Aero-News at AEA 2023. What, you again? Holy smokes. I'll tell you what, folks, we are having an interesting day. For the first time in 15 years, we had a last minute dropout on a guest who got reassigned to a meeting and blah, 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 blah. So we're juggling musical guests right now. So this is obviously not Sergio, it's not Gary, and it's not Matt, and it's not Tom. So you must be Greg Ledbetter from PS Engineering.
I am. I was just walking around and you grabbed me and
my wife is really good at Shanghaiing people and just enslaving them into avionics servitude.
Yeah.
This is the fun with live anything. Anything can happen, and you learn to go with it and laugh with it and enjoy it. And so far, so good. And the best part is my next guest is already on deck, so the next disaster isn't going to actually happen the way we thought it would. So there we go.
Right.
PS Engineering, by the way, is this really cool little company. I've had a number of their audio panels in various airplanes. Really cool when they graduated to Bluetooth and in the right time, in the right place, I could make illegal calls from my airplane going over Orlando and stuff like that and have a great time. But PS Engineering has made the niche, and I don't care how many people copy them, and we've seen how many rip-offs after rip-offs after rip-offs.
Right.
PS Engineering, especially in the general aviation space, and very much so in special missions now, owns audio panels, and we're so glad to have Greg with us. Greg, tell us what's latest and greatest at PS Engineering, and Mark, wherever you are out there, he's doing okay, he showed up.
Well, thank you so much. We're happy to be here in Orlando and this opportunity to come and see all of our avionics shops and completion centers. We do our best throughout the year to go visit them and give them praise for all their hard work. So we really enjoyed coming to AEA in Orlando this year. So yesterday, Gary did an outstanding job for the MPI introducing a new special mission audio hub. It's called the Hub 50. What makes it kind of unique is that in 2017 we came out with our Pack 45 system, which was kind of designed to be a full digital audio system, along with being plug and play with the existing NAT AMS series. A couple years later, we came out with a little bit bigger hub because it needed more. We were finding out our customers wanted more functionality and be able to get more control heads out of it. It was a little bit more complicated because it did have some dip switches on it, 60 dip switches and about 20 potentiometers. So,
your vendors must have loved you.
They did because it was an improvement over other systems that are out there. Some systems require laptops. You got to bring laptops, proprietary software, just to control the audio system. If you want to, make a change, you got to contact the manufacturer of the avionics to make changes. With us, at least they had control through the dip switches. So we actually got well received on that. But we also wanted to continually improve our process and products too. So we decided to sit down. It was actually Mark's idea. Mark came up with the idea, hey, let's do a phone app. So he came out with a iPad phone app that allows you to go in and you can configure the audio system through the app itself. Over 250 different settings that you can go in, from changing who hear what audio, from switched inputs to unswitched inputs. You could change the lighting. So if you were using it in a MVG application, you could dim the lighting down or make it brighter, however you like. We have a lot of requests for law enforcement to have special audios going out to recorders. Mm-hmm. So with the Hub 50, you can do that.
Interesting. So where does this box stand now? Where are you in various processes?
Great question. So we have submitted our TSO, I think it's about 2 weeks ago. We're waiting to hear back from the FAA to give us TSO approval, and we expect to start shipping hopefully by the end of this quarter.
Okay. Where did this all come from? I mean, I understand that there was a progression,
right?
But you had a really nice little niche in GA.
Right.
Wasn't good enough for you?
No.
We in the GA community, we loved you, man, and we're not good for you anymore?
No, you guys are great, and that's how we got started. As Gary said, that's what brought us to the party. No, it was just we were having requests about special mission market and special mission products, and we just didn't have anything that was in the product line that would support that. So we just sat down one day and decided we're going to design one and come out with the Pack 45 in 2017, and it kind of just took off from there.
There must have been some really interesting conversations with members of the special mission community, because the requirements can be unique from one to the next.
Right.
At times they are critical in many ways,
Yes.
literally life critical.
Right.
Plus, there's security issues to be involved.
Right.
There's training. How complex can a box be before somebody says, "Yeah, that cop's not going to be able to do that. He's got too many other things to do." What kind of conversations preceded all this? How did you do your market research?
That's what we did. We went to our local law enforcement police department. We actually had an EMS local helicopter division near us that we went and just had conversations with, sit down, talk to them about it, and got a lot of great feedback from them. So that's some of the stuff you had mentioned. That's kind of how we've added improvements to the Hub 50, so you can configure the hub itself depending on the mission it is. What's nice about it is once you configure the Hub 50, you can save the profile. Once you save the profile and you have another aircraft, then you can upload the profile to that aircraft. So fleet operators are able to duplicate the same audio system throughout the whole fleet. If they're using it for EMS, certain months of the year, then forestry the others, you can change the profile for that too.
Okay, I am the Okefenokee Swamp PD. I'm operating small helo, small fixed wing over a fair amount of airspace.
Right.
What is it I need to know? What is it that you can bring to the party here? And when you start talking about an installation with a police department or with a medical service or what have you, or for that matter, certain government agencies that shall remain nameless, how does that conversation start? And more important, how does the configuration get written in stone, so to speak?
Right. Well, the nice thing about the Hub 50, it's never really written in stone because you can easily make changes to the hub on the fly. So when you go to the avionics shop and you can go to your office where you have nice AC and a nice comfortable chair to configure the app the way you want it, and you can make changes anytime you like. So it is controlled by the avionics shop, meaning that they will be making the changes to the hub itself, but it's easy to change.
Yeah, well, everything now is digitally configurable.
Right.
So flip this switch, turn that knob, all things of the past. Where are you seeing your first installations? Where are you prepared to go?
Well, that's another great question. So it can be for anything. It can be for business aviation, it can be for EMS, it can be forestry, it can be for law enforcement. We are actually, at the show have been reached out several times already saying, hey, I'm ready to install my first one. Since we have been shipping the Hub 45A for several years, most of those customers are coming up and say, hey, is this plug and play to what I currently have? And yes, it is. So they can do a plug and play swap out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
They can do a plug and play swap out.
Oh, sure, make it too easy, why don't you? Shops are going to hate that. Man, I'm looking to bill 100 hours. Come on.
Yeah, that's what we do, make it easy. So
there you go. Interesting.
So we allow them to do the plug and play swap out and then just configure it from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, externally, there's just not much to it, is there?
It's a rugged box, too. We had to go through the vibration of a helicopter. If you can imagine what that's like.
Bunch of loose parts in a tight formation?
Yeah, luckily not, but yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I hear you. Holy smokes. Well, that's amazing.
Yep.
What's the state of the current GA line? What's happening in that industry right now? And can we see or expect any changes?
Right, so for us, we started this almost 2 years ago, and about halfway through, we had to put it on hold. The reason why, we were going through a pandemic and supply chain issues have become difficult.
Details here, details there.
End-of-life parts became difficult, so we came out, we had to make some tough decisions. We were shipping our flagship audio panel, the PMA 450, and it was doing very well, but there were some parts coming up that we couldn't get. So we came out with the PMA 450C back about a year and a half ago. So we had a choice not to ship the PMA 450 series at all, or come out with the PMA 450C. It's basically a little bit less operational characteristics, and also at a better price. So luckily enough, we had Aviation Consumer did a comparison and from us and the other audio panels, and so come by the booth and get one.
Well, the systems that you've built up to this point have always been pretty bulletproof from my own experience.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think, I own 3 or 4 of your audio panels at various times.
Right.
The big move to me was getting Bluetooth. I just absolutely love that. And
Right.
well, I tell you what, matching up to other people in the airplane, said, yeah, while we're waiting to get out of here, go ahead and call mom or something like that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And we were the first audio panel to come out with a USB charging port. First one that had a built-in digital recorder. First one to do stereo. So there are a lot of firsts that PS Engineering has done. You talk about, air products are rugged and durable. That comes from Mark, the owner of the company. It's very important that we have a quality product. We're a small company. We can't afford to ship products that don't live up to par. So that all comes directly from Mark.
Where do you go from here?
Gosh, there's so many different opportunities I believe that are out there for PS Engineering. We have a lot of panel partners right now that we are working with. We are seeing a lot more requests for remote mount hub systems to go with glass cockpits. So we've got a lot of cool stuff ahead of us.
I would imagine. How are you finding the hiring situation right now where post-pandemic, some folks got out of the market, they're getting back into the market, they're getting trained into the market, what have you. Are you finding the people you need at this point?
I tell you right now, thank you for bringing that up. We are looking to hire talented design engineers. So we actually have a position or two open at PS Engineering that we would love to talk to people who have passion about aviation like we do. So right now we have a great staff. We retain, I think our average retention is about 15 to 18 years. So we just have a good crew, everything from engineering down to manufacturing.
People put up with Mark that long?
Oh, Mark's great. No, Mark.
I got to tease him, man. It's so much fun.
You'll have a hard time finding anybody that has the passion like Mark does. You know what I mean? Just very rare.
Plus being a bit of a character.
Yeah, plus he's good.
But in this industry, it's nothing but one character after another, so it's fun to have a few of them stand out, and Mark definitely does. So.
Oh, I mean, he's a legend in the market. He really is, and I can't, it's good to have me and Gary at the booth, but I think everybody that's come by has asked, where's Mark?
Yeah, so, very much so.
Yeah.
Find out the latest and greatest from the fellow who made it happen. And as I said, the thing that has been fun to watch is he innovates, and then all of a sudden it's rip off and duplicate all over the rest of the industry. So I don't know. Do what you gotta do.
I mean, we're all excited about this app for the Hub 50. Like I say, it was his idea. He came out with it. We're sitting in having a meeting about how to improve the installation time on it. And he said, "Hey, let's just do an app," and we all got excited about it and just took off from there.
Well, at some point down the line, once you've got a couple installations and a little bit more time in grade, you have to reach out to us and let us know how they're being utilized, what you're learning from the process.
Right.
The one thing that's pretty normal in this industry is that your customers will teach you more than you ever imagined you could learn.
Absolutely, and it's always continuous improvement. So we listen to. We're definitely a small company. We listen to the customer itself and try to use that feedback and to improve the product.
Do what you got to do.
Right.
I'll tell you what. Where can people get more information?
You can go online, go to psengineering.com. Gary and I are at the booth. We're at 6:34 all week, and I also have a training class tomorrow morning at 8:30.
Okay.
So I invite everybody to come to that.
So that's the party you got to crash, folks.
That's the party.
There you go. All righty, we're going to take a break. We've got a number of people on deck. I think Tom Harper from Avidyne is next. I could be wrong the way things are going today. God only knows. As I said, it's been musical guests for one reason or another. We will be back in a few minutes. We've got to do a little bit of messaging and reach out to folks along the line. This is the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando, Florida. We've got a number of different issues we're going to be discussed later on today. I do want to talk to you about some of the things we're doing at Aero-News. If you haven't already, go to airborne-live.net, i.e. where you probably are right now, and go back to yesterday's new product introduction series, 33 major announcements from companies innovating either for the industry, for the community, or throughout aviation. And there's some pretty exciting stuff. New boxes, new glass, new tools, new measurement systems, you name it, they had it. Lots of goodies. And more important than anything else, toys everywhere. So this is the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. You are live from the Gaylord Palms. This is the Aero-News Network. We will be back in just a few moments. See you in a few.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Alrighty, folks, and we're back. You didn't learn a thing from the last time, so here you are back again. Who knew? We are at the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, live on the trade show floor. If Nathan is showing any of the shots of the floor, you can see it's busy. People are doing a lot here. As I understand it, the numbers for this year's convention are fairly good, certainly better than they've been, and they were pretty good coming up to this point, even recovering from a pandemic. So all good for everybody, and we're excited to be able to welcome you to something so active and so interesting. Yesterday, if you watched our new product introduction sessions, the multi-hours of our live stream, among the 33 presentations that were done, which is not a record, but pretty darn close. Avidyne introduced a number of programs, and we're here with Tom Harper, who has been a guest once or twice before.
A couple times. Yeah.
Hasn't learned a damn thing and comes back anyway. And let's talk all things Avidyne. What's new?
Well, the new exciting thing here at the show, of course, is that Avidyne was voted the Associate Member of the Year. So that was a real honor for us to be awarded that.
Is that where you get Mike Adamson drunk?
His what?
Is that where you get Mike Adamson drunk and working for?
We'll work it on that. Yeah, that was voted on by the members and the associate members. So that was a real honor for us for all the hard work we do. We've also gave an update on our Vantage program, which is our Cirrus upgrade. So that's the airplane's flying, and we're proceeding forward on that program. Got a big backlog of customers, as I'm sure you're aware, and hope to have that certified and shipping before the end of the year. All goes well. We talked about, of course, we recently finished up our 10.2.3.2 software.
2.A.
Yeah, exactly. That one. Square root of 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So we finished that up, which was mainly some minor product improvements, etc. What else? We announced Helix at the Heli Expo last month, a few weeks ago, partnered with IS&S. So that's been a really interesting
That's an interesting partnership, considering all the various histories and so forth.
Right.
Going back to the jet that shall remain nameless.
Yeah. That one, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Holy smokes.
But yeah, but you know, we had these, it was Helios FMS.
Yeah.
It's a great product, especially for like the S-76 market. There's these legacy helicopters out there that more so than looking for LPV necessarily or some other feature, they're looking for improving the reliability and dispatchability. So these old legacy cockpits are really getting long in the tooth, unsupportable in many cases, and parts are hard to get, all that. So we went out and looked for a display partner to help us with that, and IS&S was a great fit with their 10.4 displays. Those are DAL-A displays, and they've already done a lot of the interfaces, so it made a great match for us.
Where will we see those show up?
Well, we're working on a program, and we've partnered with PHI Helicopter, who handles a lot of those machines. They're going to be the system integrator. They just launched PHI MRO this year at Heli Expo, so they were looking for some new programs to launch. So they're going to do the integration on the S-76 C++. They touch a lot of those helicopters as well.
So serious piece of helicopter.
Right.
Wow.
And then we hope to have the STC that will also include the C++. So, you know, we went from 200 to like 450 airplanes or helicopters.
There you go.
So lots of good stuff going on.
PHI is going to be an interesting partner. They've got tough missions, very exacting requirements under the circumstances. Not the easiest people to work with because the requirements are tough.
The requirements are tough. Dispatchability is everything. You got the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
You got EMS. You got law enforcement. Those news gathering. All of those industries are using those machines, and they're workhorse airplane. If they're not in the air, they're not making money.
No.
And so we think that's going to be a good fit.
What's the timeline look like for that?
Well, we're just now starting the program, so we're hoping by the end of the year we will have the integration done, and should have the STC done by then too. But
holy smokes, it's moving right along.
So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Do you see much of a growth profile from there? Are you looking at other airframes?
We are. Of course, there's Blackhawks, or a derivative machine, so that's an opportunity there. And then there's a bunch of other helicopters that all of our product line can go in, whether it's Bell 412s or AS350s or 407s. So we're doing a lot of cool, interesting things in the helicopter market. We're doing some interesting things with the dual Atlas on the Lear 55 series.
Yep.
So we're moving the Atlas into Part 25, where it was born for. We've got 560 XL STC in the works in the citation program for the Atlas as well. So
that's a good market.
Yep. And we've done IFD 550s, 450s, and some Lears in the citation market as well. So
Well, that
Lots
makes
of
perfect
opportunities.
sense. Yeah, no, there's some of those airframes are flying with such garbage up front now.
Well, you know,
Oh.
they want to get LPV,
Yeah.
and sometimes the only solution is ripping the entire cockpit out.
Oops.
With our glass technology, we can interface to some of those legacy EFIS systems.
EFIS-I?
EFIS-I, yeah.
EFIS-
and extend the life of those otherwise perfectly good airplanes, and get them LPV where they can get into more runways and complete more missions.
Big job. Let's go back to Vantage for a moment. It's a program a lot of people have been watching.
Yep.
Obviously beyond the airframe that was chosen to begin with. It's also with the legacy airframes flying really old glass, if glass at all in some cases. There's a ready market. I don't know how many airframes would fit to what you propose at this point, but it's got to be considerable there as well. But where do you go from there? I mean, can we expect movement to other airframes anytime in the next year, 2, 3?
Well, we introduced Vantage as our glass panel solution. Vantage 12 is going in the Cirrus. 12 being a 12-inch glass, which won't fit in a lot of airplanes.
Nope.
But Cirrus has a side stick, so that was designed for that airplane. It may not go into many others. We think maybe a few. Of course, there's the Integra-equipped, the Piper airplanes, the PA-46s specifically, that there might be a big enough panel there that we're looking at the 12s for those.
There's some real estate there.
So we're starting to explore opportunities beyond the Cirrus, but we want to get that Cirrus certified
46
first.
interests me a great deal. That'd be fun to
PA-46,
see.
the Matrix, the Mirage, and we've got some Meridians as well. With Integra, we can do this exact same program.
Wow.
And then you've also got the PA-32s, but now you've got need a smaller display. So we're looking at a Vantage 11 or some kind of replacement that'll be smaller. So which we'll announce that later when we get beyond this.
As I understand it now, though, you've got pricing for the Vantage 12?
Vantage 12 pricing for 2023 is $16,500 per screen, so $33K for the set.
That's not bad.
You know, including a core exchange on the Integra. So if you on the Cirrus, if you look at 2 displays, dual 440s replacing the 430s, and the DFC-90 replacing the S-Tech, you're all in for list price of about $76,000.
Wow.
Yeah, great autopilot. Never heard a bad word about it.
Not going to get it from me.
So,
I had the 100, of course, but I love that thing.
Yeah, great.
Matter of fact, we had a ball when we did the initial acceptance test on that. It was some of the most fun I ever had in the Cirrus.
Yeah,
that was it was a good time. It just no matter what.
Yeah, well, that kind of launched the whole envelope protection and the straight and level.
I mean, it was everything
all
at the same time. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
And of course, the 90s inherited all that. So, or actually had it to begin with. Because the 90 preceded the 100, if I remember correctly, correct? Or was it?
Yeah, we did the 90 first, but we were developing the 100 in parallel for the R9. Yeah.
Right. So, interesting stuff to say the least. Now, am I mistaken in that the Vantage 12 program for the Cirrus will only be for those that have been previously glass equipped, or can you go back to some of the old 6-pack machines?
The short answer is we can do the 6-pack machines, but there's a 6-pack to Integra to Vantage kind of component to that, at least initially. And the reason is we're designing Vantage for the 3,700 Integra-equipped Cirruses that were shipped between 2003 and halfway through 08, whenever it was. And we're designing it so that those displays come out, you replace the panel, you don't have to move the glare shield, we'll have an adapter harness that'll interface to you don't have to rewire the entire airplane. You'll just convert those connectors, plug into the new Vantage displays. The IFDs are already slide-in replacements for the GNS. The DFC is already a slide-in replacement for the S-Tech. So it's a pretty clean install.
Excellent.
So that'll give you dual AHRs, which of course Integra only had single AHRs. So now you can fly through a failure where before if the PFD was out, you lost your autopilot. Now you'll fly through that and the DFC will keep trucking. We also announced an option for a second air data computer and a second magnetometer.
Okay.
So it's an additional $10,000 for that. So
that's a lot of redundancy.
Yes. So you eliminate all the single point failures, if you will.
I'll be darned. Outstanding. Okay. Well, I'm dying to see what happens with additional airframes down the line. I'm in the process of choosing my next airplane. I'm curious to see what's going to come down the line, because outside of my problems with the airframe manufacturer, the R9 experience I had and my SR-22 was the best flying experience in a single engine airplane I'd had.
Those that still fly, I love it. Yeah.
I mean, what was really fun was having to do the run. At the time, I was on the board of a cargo airline down south and having to run into Miami all the time. And Miami had this problem setting you up on an approach and then all of a sudden sidestepping you to someplace else. On Brand G, that's a lot of buttons to push and this to push and this and that. On R9, it was so flawless to make a quick, and everything, of course, you're watching the pink line, you're doing this and that. Yep. It was just stunning. I mean, you were literally daring, okay, Miami, take your best shot, buddy.
Yeah, right.
I don't care. Just run me in from the south, I'm with you, buddy, not a problem. And it was just such a flawless way to do business. The methodology was good.
And all of that, has migrated into the IFDs.
Oh, I know, but still.
The 550,
I'm ready to come home, buddy.
In fact, the software releases for the IFDs is R10. It's just the next evolution, adding touchscreen.
I'm dying to see what happens with that. When you guys get that flying to a point you're willing to have somebody flight test, give me a call. I'm ready to come out and do it. That'll be a lot of fun to see. So what's happening right now with the IFD series? What's the latest and greatest there?
Well, like I say, we finished the 10.3.2.1, which is kind of a minor point release. Fixed a few things. One of the other things that came part of that was the FMS only version of Atlas. So the initial version of Atlas that we certified had the integrated VHF radio for nav and comm. So this software basically enabled the non-radio version. It was just another software release. The hardware release was developed in parallel. So that kind of came into being. So we've got some programs that we're not ready to announce, but coming soon with that. But then we'll have the next release on board will be the release that includes the Vantage release. So those will all play together.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So what else? What else are you guys working on these days?
Well, that's a big deal. The only other thing is we've got a lot of work going on in the advanced air mobility side of the house.
Yeah.
With some partners to be unnamed at this point, but we've got some announcements coming up in the next few months on some product and product lines for that market.
AAM is just going to be insane.
Well, yes, there's a lot of them out there now, but when the dust settles, there's going to be some players.
There's going to be a lot of dust settling. Yeah. That's
right.
Everybody, the money is running insane. It's insane money right now.
Right.
And everybody's got a project, but it's also a time when the technology is finally going to start filtering to a point of provability.
Yeah.
That's when things are going to get interesting. And the few that are able to verify and get an airframe through to some sense of usability is going to be exciting. It really is. Hopefully you've got one of those. There's absolutely some fascinating stuff because of our work with AUVSI. Okay, one more time. AUVSI is our media partner over the years. We had access to a lot of things that were in the works. It was exciting to watch, but it was breathtaking. It was so hard to keep up with that. And I would imagine the requirements that are being given to you for what these operators are looking for has to be insane.
Well, the beauty of it is one of the things that we're able to do with our agility is provide these customers, they're looking for stuff that doesn't exist today.
Yeah.
Where, some folks are selling,
they're looking for FM.
But we're looking
Flipping Magic.
Magic, yes, that's right.
I cleaned that one up.
Yes, thank you. And one of the technologies we're developing is the ability to have a multi-core processor, so that because they have engineers and they want to develop some of the software themselves, but we want to give them a platform that'll deliver a certain amount of that and then allow them the space to customize. So
outstanding.
There's just a lot going on, and we're in the thick of it.
Must be busy.
Yeah. Very much so.
One of the things I've been asking a number of our guests here today, we're watching this industry starting to hire, rehire, whatever the case may be, after losing a fair amount of manpower in during the pandemic series, and surprisingly not as much as many other industries. how is the hiring situation right now? Are you finding the people you need? What kind of training is lacking, or what do you need to see? What is your feeling about the folks that you're looking for right now to take Avidyne to the next level?
Well, we seem to be hiring engineers as fast as we can find them. So there's a big demand for software engineers, hardware engineers, systems engineers, and so on. So, and so we're growing, we're expanding. We moved to a new facility last year to open up our factory and our engineering to get more engineers in there. So sales and marketing moved to a building down the street. So that's given us room to grow.
They kicked you out, huh?
They kicked us out, yeah,
okay.
Pretty much, yeah. And,
all right.
but finance is in there too, and they'll never kick them out. So we're all good there. So that's a big deal. When we talk to our dealers, there's still a big demand for technicians, especially experienced technicians. So one of the things for us as a challenge as a manufacturer is making products that are easier to install, making product support that's more accessible. We've done things with our interactive installation manuals. So you can go to our PDF of our install manuals, got click-to videos that explains each interface and troubleshooting videos. So we're trying to make it so a less experienced technician can get up to speed quicker. So that's helping our dealer channel.
Wow, okay.
We've got a knowledge base. So anytime we get questions, we put these knowledge base articles up, and 24/7, and of course globally, folks can get access to answers. So
smart, very smart.
It's really helping us alleviate some of that pressure of manpower and expertise.
Anything we should look for Oshkosh this year?
I'll reserve any kind of.
Just you, me.
Yeah, just
ignore the guy behind the camera.
Us. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm not going to snirk you with that one anymore, am I?
No.
Dan ready to kick my butt after the last time? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
We tried.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing it at Oshkosh. I'm sure there's got to be a few arrows in your quiver on that one.
Yeah, we're hoping for a good show again this year. Yeah.
And of course, as long as Mr. Uncle FAA is good with certifications and paperwork and all that. And
yep. Yeah. Well, we got to get it to him first, in fairness. So as soon as we can get across the line and put it in their hands, then we'll be on the downhill slide, and we're really looking forward to it. We got a big backlog on the Vantage. Mm-hmm. So once we start shipping, somebody who is interested in Vantage, we're encouraging them to go ahead and upgrade their IFDs now, upgrade their autopilot now. That'll get them in line because the queue's starting to grow. So when we start shipping, you'll be in the queue to get your
and make the ultimate installation process a lot simpler.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense. It'll be fun to watch. All righty, Tom, as always, it's been a pleasure. Fun to watch. Really looking forward to the future, especially since somewhere down the line I hope to be flying another panel with you guys, depending on what I'm flying and what you have available, and how much we can, talk Dan out of and so forth. And yeah, we can deliver that a little early, no problem. We're ready. Yeah, no problem. Just whatever it takes. So we'll look forward to that as well. In the meantime, where can people get more information on the entire Avidyne program?
Well, of course, we're at avidyne.com, our website. Here at the show, we're at booth 726, but see us on avidyne.com, and we've got a YouTube channel, and we've got lots of training videos and those sort of things, resources on our website as well. So
very good, Tom. Thank you so much for your time. All righty, folks, we are live at the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Palms and Resort in good old downtown Orlando, Florida, next to the Mouse. We've had a real interesting day with guest scheduling issues, so forth and so on, so we're juggling a little bit. I got to tell you, though, what's fun about this industry is that there's so many exciting things to do. Finding somebody to talk to about something fascinating is not a matter of throwing a rock anywhere around here, because you don't have to go far. It's really an enjoyable process, and the industry this year, especially post-pandemic and all, is, I think Mike said it best, it's certainly warm and getting hot, and I can't disagree with that at this stage of the game based on what I see and the reports we're getting. So we got a healthy industry. For those of you out there in the GA world, know that you're being supported, that your industry is healthy and getting healthier, and we'll have a lot more news. If you missed yesterday's AEA new product introductions, go back to airborne-live.net go back for day one. Day two is what we're doing now, by the way, if you didn't get that hint. Go back to day one and work your way through. If you are looking for individual presentations and can wait a little bit, Nathan, the man behind the curtain, our chief videographer, Nathan Cremasino, will have each individual presentation broke down into individual segments in a few days, weeks, whatever it takes, and after he gets some sleep from getting away from this place. So for the moment, we are live at AEA 2023. We will be right back. This is the Aero-News Network, airborne, and more important, AEA Live. See you in a few minutes.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Throughout the globe, Piper Aircraft has hand-selected the very best in company representation, service, and support. From first inquiry to acquisition to product support, Piper Aircraft ownership is seamless and worry-free. Piper Aircraft authorized dealers, factory trained, factory connected.
All right, folks, in the continual chain of chaos that is live event television, video, whatever you want to call it, we're back. We've got our friends at Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics about to tell you about some really interesting developments, taking their legendary 3-pack and going all digital. We'll get to that here in just a moment. We've still got a real interesting list of guests coming up later on today with Gogo Business Aviation. Gary Reeves from Pilot Safety, who's doing some tremendous work in pilot training, especially the avionics segment. If you want to know how to use that box that befuddles you, Gary's the guy to tell you. So we're pretty excited to have him involved. And more important, he's always fun to talk to, so yay for that. Matt, welcome to Airborne Live and the AEA Live segments for 2023. You guys have done some pretty cool stuff this week. We're going to talk to your battery folks tomorrow afternoon, or morning, I should say. But in the meantime, the 3-pack lives and all digital.
It does.
Tell us what happened here.
So definitely when the glass panel revolution came along, we started to see this move to 2-inch standby instruments.
Was that a revolution or an insurrection?
Either way. Depends on which side you're standing.
I think Todd may have an opinion on that one.
Yeah. So, it was from a company that we really cut our teeth, in the mechanical instrument world in developing 2-inch round dial instruments that allowed panels to really maximize the space. The challenge has always been they're still a mechanical instrument as we moved into more and more of a digital age. And with that program, one of the things we've kind of seen, especially after COVID, and this is kind of one of those knock-on effects that we find in the industry, some of the things on mechanical instruments actually became a little bit harder to find, a little bit harder to support. When you look at a mechanical instrument, we all know that they spin approximately 15,000 RPM, and so you have to have good bearings and rotors. And I mean, just bearings, rotors.
Oh my!
Very bespoke. It's a Swiss watch. It's a really incredible thing to have to be built. As we came out of COVID, we realized that a lot of the people that were making those parts were very dedicated professionals, but they were small businesses. They had been doing it for a lot of years, and as the market shrank, so did the field of places we could find those parts. And so, as part of kind of an unfortunate coincidence in one way, but a very positive one in the other, we said, look, we can take these instruments and make them digital. And so when we launched our MD23 Flex platform a couple of years ago now, which was our custom design instrument, we said we can make standardized versions of this. We already had the hardware in place. We had one that has an inertial measurement unit in it, so that gives us the attitude that we need. We had differential and absolute pressure sensors, which are pitot and static. And so we said, we can really replace these mechanical instruments now with a digital solution that's at the right price, at the right fit, and bring that into the market and bring that kind of digital quality and reliability, as well as an additional set of features that now we are expecting in a glass panel environment.
Well, I'll tell you what, everything went digital, everything went, screens this, screens that, so it seemed like the next best thing to do. But for those folks out there that have been dealing with 3-packs forever and a day and kind of used to them, and, if God intended us to go digital, the Bible would have come that way too, and all that kind of thing. It has to have been an interesting development for people to see, wait a second, this kind of fits in where it was before, and it's not going to be that hard or that horribly expensive to do. Yeah. What's the process like in making the transition?
The beauty of the digital 3-pack is that it really simplifies the install process. The first step is you don't have to cut a new panel. When you look at a lot of standby instruments, you're not going in, cutting a brand new panel and going through all that expense and time. Now you have something that fits an existing 2-inch round hole that everybody has in their panels that has these kinds of standbys. And then along with that, most of those connectors, if anybody's ever pulled out an instrument, it's a 4-pin connector in the back on most of these legacy mechanical instruments. A lot of that was electrical power to drive it, and then you had to have some lighting. Well, now we have more pins, but all you really have to do are those 4. And so everything that's already run in the panel, you're just repinning the connection, turning 4 screws on each instrument, and now you've got a digital backup that not only can be tied into your lighting bus or use the photocell, but it just is an easy drop in without all the other cost and time that it takes to get a brand new instrument panel created.
Okay, I got to ask the question.
Okay.
Cost.
All right, so cost for all 3 as a replacement, it's $15,000 is the list price. And out of that, if you were to go separately, the airspeed and the altimeter run for $5,000 list each. The attitude indicator, $6,500. With that, you obviously get a package deal, right, when you do the math there. So you save $1,500 by going through all 3. And price-wise, when you look at, and this is where it gets really more compelling in terms of, for the customers out there looking to potentially make an upgrade, is that the overhaul costs on these mechanical instruments, and we build a lot of them, and so we know exactly where they're at. Overhaul cost versus a new cost for a digital solution, they're really close to being about the same. And on attitude indicators,
if you can find the parts.
If you can find the parts on attitude indicators, and the altimeters as well. Believe it or not, the altimeters are kind of they're one of the worst ones to do, because that aneroid wafer, if that's a whole other segment we can do sometime about how to make an aneroid wafer, but it is bespoke and very costly to get done.
That would have to be a horror show. It just really.
It's amazing to see. And now going to the digital sensors, you get the reliability that comes, almost at orders of magnitude.
Mean time between failures of 4 million plus or whatever.
It just goes forever.
Digital, it's real simple. You power it on, it works.
That's
if it doesn't work, then you replace it, and then it works. And that's it. And it just keeps on going and going and going and going.
Yep.
Digital MTBF is kind of a joke. You went from thousands of hours to millions of hours, or the equivalent in some cases.
Absolutely.
I supervised a test program recently for a vehicle for the military, in which a lot of stuff got switched out, and we were looking at maintenance schedules and everything else. And maintenance schedules that used to be measured in dozens of hours are now hundreds and thousands of hours. And I'm just sitting there kind of going, boy, there's a general somewhere who's not only going to like this, but going to take credit for it.
Oh, yeah.
So, big time. So there you go. Now, it's a wonderful solution to see, but obviously with what you've developed out of the Flex program, this stuff can go anywhere and add all kinds of intriguing capabilities.
Yep.
What do you see specifically with the Attitude? Might we see things like synthetic vision and the like?
I don't know on a 2-inch display that we'll get down to that kind of a technology. The nice thing about the Flex instruments is
Well, you're leading into my next question is, do we go beyond 2-inch or not?
I think there's always a desire to go beyond that.
Yep.
It's the core technology is there, and the beauty of the Flex product is really how we have been able to certify it, the way that the software is designed. So the software inside all these instruments is design assurance level A, which means that it can go in any kind of an aircraft, from an airliner on down to the smallest of the small. And then when you look at the software functions, when we design the hardware, it comes out of the gate with a TSO ready to go, and then through our custom interface design process, we actually create a separate file that tells the instrument now what it is. All the functions for anything you can imagine, we've already qualified, tested, and had approved under the TSO. Now it's just a matter of getting it configured to present exactly what you want. And that functionality really scales well into other devices, as well as just bigger displays.
It's exciting. It really is. It's kind of cool. And then, 15K is 15K, but again, there's going to be at some point down the line where, because of the mechanical nature of mechanical things will break, and this is where all of a sudden this starts making lots and lots of sense. Do you have a rough idea of installation time in regards to making the switch from mechanical to digital?
It's one of those things that can be done, depending on the aircraft and what else is being accomplished, pretty easily. You could probably get it done in a day. The easiest thing to do is get the panel tilted down, pull out the old instruments, you're repinning 3 connectors, putting them back in. It's probably going to take you about as long to do the paperwork as the physical work. So we know that that's the way that aviation rolls. And for a great target for these particular products is definitely what we've done in our initial AMLSTC, which is Part 23 AMLSTC, looking at basically everything that's burning kerosene as the initial starting point is a big part of the market where they're facing gyro obsolescence problems specifically. And so being able to go through and bring this technology into the King Airs, into the CJs, into the old Citation jets, into the Premiers that have 2-inch round dial instruments in the panel that are looking for a cost-effective and timely solution to product failures and repair obsolescence.
Outstanding. Well, at some point down the line, I've got to see this in the field, which is basically an excuse to go fly something.
Yeah.
And you know how hard it is.
Come on out to my King Air, we'll go.
Now you're talking, there you go. But no, that sounds like a great series of solutions. Is there a future to this that hasn't been talked about much yet, but we should be looking at? I mean, where do we go from here, I guess, is the ultimate question.
Yeah, I think that the next step beyond where we're at with those particular instruments today, we still have 26 pins of I/O in the backside.
Oh dear.
So we're doing ARINC conversion. We're going from analog to digital, digital to analog. We've got analog discretes. We can, a lot of airplanes, and in my background over all these years, I've seen where you start running out of ARINC. It's amazing. Everything that's digital needs additional digital information. And so with that, we can bring in and consolidate multiple AirInc instruments down into a single output. And so for the installers and for people looking to upgrade their aircraft to keep pace with the digital revolution that is here, then we're able to sit there and say, yeah, we've got another solution to a pretty common problem, which is being able to get all that data kind of corralled, brought into a singular focus that allows you to be able to get the gazinzas and gazadas that you want to have and that you really need, because that's a challenge.
Wild. Where can people get more information on this?
They can come out to our website at mcico.com. They can call us in Wichita. All of our contact information is online. We've got great information down to the install manuals and any other details to help plan their project available free on our website.
And of course, yesterday's MPI.
The MPI was great. We do always enjoy the AEA MPI. I don't know if you noticed that we had Ryan Reed, one of our pilots, sweeping the hangar as well as working on gyros.
Kidding? We were having a ball with that.
Yeah,
that was well placed and actually a good job for Ryan. So no problem.
Yes.
Got to keep the guy busy. So
as we always say, there's no reason this job can't be fun.
Well, there you go. And well, I'll tell you what. We will be talking to I think Van tomorrow in regard, but at least you guys brought the real deal to it. So that was exciting. Sweeping notwithstanding, and. We'll look forward to seeing what you have in mind. I guess we'll see you at Oshkosh?
We'll be at Oshkosh. We're excited to be there back in Hangar B, where we traditionally have been. And then from there, it seems like every other trade show between now and then, we'll be there as well.
And MBAA will definitely see you there.
Absolutely.
So we'll look forward to that. Alrighty, folks, we are going to take a quick commercial break. Got to go pay the bills, and I get to eat lunch. Yay. But more important than anything else, we've got several other guests, including the folks from Gogo Business Aviation, here to talk about Gogo 5G and their expansion into the Canadian environment. It's no longer the U.S. is good enough. Man, they're looking for world domination. It's going to be fun. And shortly thereafter, we'll be talking to Gary Reeves with Pilot Safety. Gary is doing some wonderful work in pilot training and instructor training, especially in regards to bringing people up to speed on what's in their panels and how to properly utilize and get the most utilization out of that Garmin or Avidyne or what have you that you never really quite understood to begin with. So it's exciting to have somebody with that knowledge and with that much passion for the craft to share a little bit of his wisdom with us under the circumstances. And it really is a fun process to meet and greet, work with all these people, and they've got so much to give to the industry. So this is the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We will be back in just a few moments. We're ready to go with Gogo, and we will be right back. This is AEA 2023. Be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated. An even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
And we're back. You didn't learn anything from the previous interviews, but you're back again. So, hey, we're saving some of the best for last, so let's have some fun here. First of all, to finish out the day, we've got just a couple of interviews left. We're going to be finishing up here just a little bit early because of some fallout, but it's been musical guests. It's been kind of fun with the schedule switching around. This person can't make this, that, and the other. And the one wonderful thing about live webcasting at any stage of the game is you're surprised by nothing because everything's a surprise. We've had such a great time today with Mike Adamson, Jonathan Pinson, Tom Harper, Greg Ledbetter, and now we are ready to go with Gogo. The big announcement this week was obviously the move into Canada. You built out 5G into the US.
Yep.
It's a major market, but those Canadian guys, they're moving around too. So, I mean, where do you go next? World domination has to be right around the corner.
Well, we just announced it, and we'll talk about next after we talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So talk about Canada, because the build out on that's got to be a little bit more challenging than here in the U.S.
It does have its unique challenges, but at the end of the day, it's an extension of what we've done in the United States. I mean, it's unique in Canada because it has the topography, the time of season that we can deploy is limited compared to the lower 48s, but then there are also some significant challenges, what we refer to as site acquisition, excuse me, where we have to go and we do an RF map of the region, what would the best allocation of towers for coverage be, and then what happens is we find out that the best location is on top of a mountain where there's nothing.
Yeah.
And so we have to figure out how to build a tower there, and you got to go through city permits and structural
and who owns the mountain?
And who owns the mountain? So the federal and the state and the local authorities. So this year we'll be doing all of the site acquisition, and we'll actually start to deploy the network. And because of the weather up there, we'll have to stop and start again next year and finish it out next year. But the Canadian coverage for us is extremely important for our customers because not only is it a valuable asset for the business aviation and general aviation customers in Canada, but it's also a significant flight route from New York to Seattle. Or when people are going towards Asia, having that coverage, air-to-ground coverage, all the way through Alaska or Canada and Alaska increases their coverage for about another hour and a half. And so it's a significant, very important thing for our customers. So we're really glad to start starting that project and finishing it next year.
And as I understand that too, that extends up into Alaska eventually, correct?
Oh, correct. Our current network does cover Alaska as well.
Okay.
And what we're doing right now is, when I say our current network, so we basically
Connects
have
the dots.
two networks overlapping each other.
Okay.
We have our licensed network, or our traditional network that most people know of, and that is all over the United States and in Canada. and our 5G network overlays on the United States, and now it's going to cover the Canadian, so that you can have 5G coverage over the entire air-to-ground network, not just the lower 48.
Well, that's aggressive.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, in the not too distant future, they're going to be able to go from there to satellite anyway. And
there you go.
And again,
and that's our next.
Yeah, there we go.
That's our next.
There you go. Holy smokes! I've watched different iterations of your corporate strategies over the years between airline and the BizAv community, and of course, from BizAv you can go anywhere, especially with this community, and all of a sudden, and so forth. And I'm just sitting there going, okay. Until I got experience in the airplane, it was kind of fun, but okay, let me experiment now. And he just looked at me and goes, don't pop at me, I'm working. And, I mean, the capabilities then were phenomenal, but the capabilities to come make the airplane as expensive and as difficult it is to maintain these things and do all this and do all that, they become so much more valuable. You magnify the proposition. Pretty cool stuff, but 5G, I mean, you're talking up to 75, 80 MIPS?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a normal experience will be about 25 megabits per second, but it'll be peaks in the 75 to 85 megabits per second. But it's really, you can't have a successful company and strategy and satisfy your customers if you're not keeping up with them or staying ahead of them. Yeah. And that's really our strategy has always been to continue to invest in our connectivity solutions, whether it's air to ground or satellite. And as long as we continue to do that and support it in a way that aviation customers, flight departments, and owners satisfy their needs both operationally and from a business standpoint, then I think we'll continue to grow and be a successful company. And I don't see that. That's part of our culture, part of our DNA. Yeah. So global broadband is going to change the landscape significantly. I mean, what Gogo did to business aviation 15 years ago, 12 years ago, was we made connectivity available to everybody in business aviation that flies in North America. What our global broadband solution is going to do is do the exact same revolutionary offering, but around the rest of the world. So the CJ operators in Geneva or in Kenya or in Bogota will have access to an affordable, high-speed internet solution that gives them the ability to run their business and manage their business when they're flying or on the ground.
The other part of the equation, though, that I thought was particularly laudable was the fact that the hardware side of the business, what we had to actually stuff in an airplane and find a shop that could deal with it, this, that, and the other, turned out to be not that onerous a task.
We've put a lot of time and effort, and we try to be a very disruptive company, and not just in technology.
I love that word.
You like that?
Well, I was part of the X-Prize community and worked with Peter Diamandis, whose famous phrase was, disruption is not a dirty word.
No, disruption is the basis of survival.
Yeah.
It's the mortar of success. And the reality
is... And it really takes off the competition. Yes!
The reality is that you have to continue to be disruptive, not just in how you bring technology to the market, but how you service the customer. And one of the things that we've done is we've made connectivity not just easier to install. We saw this paradigm in our industry where every time there was a new connectivity solution, you had to rip out the old system and put in a new one. And we thought that's just too disruptive. It's too costs too much. So we designed the advanced platform strategy so that it could be a building block and you can take it in different directions. I'll give you an example. So if you have an L3 or an L5 installed in your aircraft, you can install, depending on where you operate, a global broadband solution or a 5G solution at a very small incremental cost, much less than putting an L5 or an L3 in, because you're just adding to it. And some of the features and functions that we have, you don't even have to have hardware. So we really want to make our business model around servicing the customer, not around ripping out and reinstalling systems in the aircraft. So to that, we pay a lot of attention to how to do it in a very cost-effective way and leverage every dollar invested by a flight department.
What kind of input are you getting from customer base right now? The one thing that's fascinating about the avionics industry is that in the long run, you will learn more from your customers than you ever imagined. Sometimes much to your chagrin, but at the same time, education is hard. What are you learning right now, and how is that guiding your strategy?
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned the segment a little while ago about the possibility of going into the smaller aircraft that traditionally haven't had a connectivity solution. A couple years ago, when Cirrus launched their Vision Jet 2, I believe, Gogo is an option on that. It has a tremendously high take rate. Now it's a personal jet, much smaller. And we also have a tremendous customer base with the CJP group.
Oh yeah.
And
Citation guys love you.
Yeah. Well, I really hadn't interacted with that customer base so much. We're more Par 91, corporate flight department. But this group of individuals, what's unique about them is that these owner-operator crowd, they fly an aircraft and they own an aircraft because they love aviation.
Bingo.
But you put on top of that, they're entrepreneurs, innovators, and disruptors in their own right, whether they have a software company,
and mobile
whether they're
to the
managing.
10th degree.
Correct, and they understand. And I have enjoyed working with that group more than I have enjoyed with working with anybody in a long time. And I'll tell you why. Because
they're party animals first.
Well, yes, they like to party, that's true. But what impresses me is that there's one particular individual I'm thinking about manages a ton of, owns a ton of restaurants.
Okay.
And he is the type of individual that every time he sees something in aviation doesn't make sense, he goes out and looks to see if there's a solution. And if he doesn't find a solution that he feels is adequate and cost affordable, you know what he does? He does it himself.
Okay.
And because of that, he has successfully started, developed, and sold 2 aviation companies, and it's not his business. That's not his core business. And he's a customer, and I'll have him call me up and say, Sergio, I was just thinking, if Gogo did this, and that, you guys would knock it out of the park. And I'm always amazed how this individual is responsible for thousands of employees, however big his personal net worth is, and he is so passionate about aviation and the Gogo products, and because that he actually has time to think about it from a business standpoint. So I'm really enjoying this new phase of Gogo expansion into, I would say, the more the heavy personal jets or the heavy turboprops and the personal jets.
These guys and girls are flying all the time. I mean, they're just. I was talking to Philippe de Segovia from TBM, and some of the utilizations they're getting on the latest version, early utilizations, these people are logging hours. I mean, they might as well just put a mattress in the back and live in the bloody things. It's amazing how much time they're spending in the air.
I'll give you a little quote. This one individual, this other individual, I was talking to him at the eBay show in Geneva last year, and he said to me, do you know why I own an airplane? I go, no, sir, I don't know why you own an airplane. He goes, the same reason why I have Gogo on it. And I'm like, okay, I was interested. And he goes, when I get home, I want to be with my family. He goes, if I had to fly commercially, all the places around the United States that I do to do my business, and then I went home to finish my emails and finish working, he goes, I would never have any time. He goes,
no.
So having an aircraft and having Gogo on my aircraft give me the freedom and the ability to spend time with my family that I would not otherwise have. He goes, that's why I want your product to succeed, because it makes me a better father and a better husband. Now, I was blown away by that.
Gogo is marriage counseling on a...
Or keeps it from happening, I hope.
Well, there you go. Works for me. It sounds like a really good excuse for the... Sweetie, we really must have this installation in the airplane, and bigger airplane too, because it's just good for the marriage.
It's good for the marriage.
I don't think I'm going to get that one past my wife, but I can try.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. They're just amazing stuff. So let's talk a little bit about schedules coming up.
Sure.
How will Canada go? What is happening with the current 5G deployment here in the U.S. and also especially on the hardware side? Where are we at with everything?
So the 5G hardware, both the antenna and the LRU, the box, those have already been STC'd and PMA'd. We have started shipping the antennas and the provisional kits. We're not shipping the LRU yet,
right?
Because Samsung, who's the manufacturer of the 5G chipset, had a manufacturing issue, and they won't get us that chip until the middle of this year. At which point, then we'll go ahead and do a minor STC, do some qual testing, and then amend the STC, and then start shipping our 5G hardware package and turn on the service the second half of this year.
Okay.
Somewhere in the
imminent
November, October timeframe.
Ooh.
So that's the 5G.
NBAA.
You know, it kind of happens to work out that way.
Great
so
timing.
we're really excited about that. The 5G network expansion into Canada, like I said, is happening this year. We'll build out some towers, and then we'll finish building out by the end of next year.
Kick out a few polar bears?
Probably not. We're going to be really friendly to the polar bears and to the whatever other animals that we have to be careful about.
Yeah,
there.
really.
But yeah. So that's that. But from a schedule standpoint, something that a lot of people aren't aware of that we're really getting the message out is that Gogo, once we finished our 5G development, we really focused our attention, and it's been part of our long-term plan, to take the original air-to-ground network we had and do a technology refresh.
Okay.
And so over the next couple of years, actually next 3 years, we are going to deploy an entire new network, which is basically refreshing the technology. If you think about it, those cell sites have been out there for 12 years. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of technology developments and so forth, and so for customer improvement and speed and all that, we are going to replace the entire air-to-ground network. And then in 2026, and this is the message we're trying to get out, the classic air-to-ground systems that we originally started selling won't work on that network.
Okay.
So we're in the process right now of reaching out to every one of our customers. We still have about 3,500 customers that have that we call it the classic air-to-ground system on it that we launched originally, known otherwise as the HEG 1000, 2000, 4000, and 5000. And we are offering them very, very aggressive rebates to upgrade to the Advanced L3 or to the Advanced L5, because that technology will in fact work on the newer technology. Not only will it work, an L3, like a classic, an HEG 5000, somebody who puts an L3 in their aircraft is going to get a 40% throughput improvement.
Okay, that's impressive.
Plus, we're going to give them about a $25,000 check to help offset the cost of their installation. And when I mean check, I'm not talking about a credit towards their services. I'm talking about when they activate the system, we're going to write them a check and mail them a $25,000 check if they install an L3. If they install an L5,
wow, okay,
we're going to give them a $25,000, or excuse me, a $50,000 check. And if they sign up for provisions for an L5 and 5G, it's going to be a $100,000 check.
Well, if any of those get misplaced and you need a place to send one, I'll give you my address before you leave, just in case.
So we're trying to get the notice out to all of the,
man.
We're talking to all of our dealers, and we're giving our dealers an extra incentive to upgrade those customers. We don't want to leave any customer behind.
That, one of the things that comes up out of this, the amount of communications, the amount of work you must do to be able to keep your customer base up to speed, both on what you're doing, how to get the most out of what you have, and where you're going. Mm-hmm. That must be an intense job.
It is, but it's actually not that difficult when we look at the Gogo team. I mean, we have a phenomenal team.
Good people.
What I like, the way I describe it is that I would be friends. If these guys were my neighbor, I'd be their friend. I really, really enjoy the people I work with.
That's how I built a company.
And I'm going to tell you, it's not. It's very special at Gogo, but it's also part of our business aviation industry. I've been in this industry about 30 some odd years now, and I've been with Gogo for about 15. But I have to say, the people in this convention center, for the most part, are family, dedicated, passionate people that are they're just, if they were your neighbor, you'd go have a beer with them and chit-chat and talk about fishing.
They're all drinking the same Kool-Aid.
We're passionate about what we do. So,
absolutely.
The only problem with our industry right now is there's not enough of us. We need young people to get involved in this industry.
And that's, it's been an interesting part of each conversation today about training the people you're looking for, especially post-pandemic and everything else. that finding the kind of folks that can take into the future right now is probably job one for many of these companies.
Yeah.
And it's getting tougher by the day because one is the training, two is the attitude that you're trying to bring in from the kind of people you want to hire and keep with you, and then finally folks that could grow with you.
Yeah.
Because retraining somebody 2 or 3 years down the line is a real waste of time and resources. So tough job.
Our internship program has been very successful. We've been able to compete with, Fortune 100 companies in our area, and we have an internship program with the School of Mines, with UC Boulder, and now we've expanded to even other universities outside of Colorado, and we bring in interns, and it's been a very successful internship program, and we've been able to, once these individuals graduate, they're getting offers from Fortune 100 companies, and they're choosing to come back to Gogo. You know why? Because, not just because of the culture, but because we're a small entrepreneur company, when we hire somebody, we don't give them a widget, we give them a project.
Okay.
And that is extremely gratifying for an engineer or a marketing person to say, no, you got to figure out how to do this. We don't know how to do it, you got to figure it out.
There's a sense of ownership in that.
And what we have found is that we have brought in a tremendous amount of very high talented people as interns that come back to work for Gogo later, and it has been a really blessing for both of us. So
good for you. That's an investment that works.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Sergio, I got to tell you that it's always fun to talk to you folks. It's always fun to find out what's going on. I get a hold of Dave. Okay, what's next for the next show? And it's always one of those situations where, oh, cool. Okay, didn't know what was going there, but yay.
Yay.
But you got to keep us up to date on everything, and especially between now and Oshkosh and MBAA, I think is going to be an incredible time for Gogo, and it'll be fun to watch. I mean, I'll be the guy with the popcorn and the cheap seats. Just go for it, guys.
Who knows? You might get one of those refund checks or rebate checks.
It's going to be a little while yet. I got to work my way up from Twin Comanches or something similar up to something that's even.
You might find something there pretty soon.
Oh man, I can only hope, because some of the most fun traveling with Tracy and the CJ, outside of the fact it was just a lovely airplane to fly, and I really enjoyed it, was just, pulling out the phone, grabbing this and that. Hey, Misako will be back, about 4:30, this, that, and the other, or checking ahead, or know where your rental car is, or all the other things that, never get settled until you're on the ground, are now getting settled halfway there. And then all
you
of a
can
sudden,
go have dinner.
It's time at that point to turn on, Howard Stern and listen to what craziness is going on next. So how do you beat that? That's life. We're getting business done, we're entertaining ourselves, we're staying informed, and we're keeping our lives going.
So before we end this, I want to thank you, Jim. I mean, you've been doing this now for 15 years, I believe, right?
15 years for live, of course, Aero-News, believe it or not, 26 last November.
But the reality is that you really do help keep our dealers informed. It's impossible to go out and talk to everybody. We're here to support our dealers who've made us successful. They're the ones who represent our products to the end customers. They're the ones who do the installations, certify it, promote us, and you're a way for us to communicate with all of them, to keep them informed. And so thank you very much for that,
We've
Jim.
really enjoyed it. It was either that or get a real job, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, who would hire this guy anyway? But then again, I so enjoy this part of the industry. I mean, I love every aspect of it, and I've worked in every aspect of aviation. I mean, everything from real basic GA all the way up to rocket stuff with X-Prize and this, that, and the other. And it's always been fascinating, but what's happening in avionics drives aviation.
Yeah.
For the longest time, nothing changed with engines, not much changed with airframes, but avionics, every aspect of this, whether it be displays or communications or connectivity, drove aviation forward.
Absolutely.
And as we drive aviation forward, we drive business, we drive the world, and they should be damn thankful to us all, don't you think?
I agree with you 100%.
Alrighty, Sergio, we can't thank you enough for presenting the latest and greatest from Gogo. We look forward to getting postcards from Canada.
There you go. I like that. We're going to do that from the marketing standpoint.
There you
postcards
go.
from Canada.
Yeah, polar bears to the right.
Yeah.
And most important, just watching aviation grow as a result. So more power to you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, we're going to take a break. We've got Gary Reeves on deck, and Gary runs an interesting program called Pilot Safety. He's an avionics and trainer. He's a flight instructor. He's the guy who's helping everybody, the nut on the end of the stick, look at the panel and actually understand what's going on. He's also doing a really great project right now with tips for flight instructors, program that's near and dear to my heart. And you'll be hearing some stuff about the CFI Pro program with SAFE and the Bob Hoover Legacy Foundation. So there's a lot of exciting stuff still on deck. And in the meantime, it's time for Gogo to go, and we thank you so much for everything. We're going to be right back in just a few moments. This is the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, live from the Gaylord Palms and Resort, on the floor of AEA 2020. Okay, let's stop here. AEA 2023. It's been a long day, folks. We'll see you in just a few moments. Thank you. And here we are again. You didn't learn anything from before. We're back. Okay. As you know, it's been kind of a chaotic day with what we call guest roulette, but we got it done right. So we're happy to welcome Gary Reeves to the stage here to talk about a number of projects he's working on. Before then, a little bit of housekeeping. We will be live tomorrow at 1100 Eastern Time through 2 p.m., i.e. 1400. After that, we are done with the convention. If you haven't seen it, at airborne-live.net, we have all of the initial opening day ceremonies and discussions, and of course 33 NPI presentations, which will over time get broken up into individual segments, but not this week and maybe not next week, because I think Nathan's going to go home and sleep for a few days. So we have those done and complete. And of course, we have all the innovation preview programs done from Sun and Fun a couple of weeks back. Those are all broken down into their segments as well. All those are available through airborne-tv.net and available through links at aero-news.net. And please take a look at that, because the innovation preview were some of the biggest announcements of the year. The first mention of the Rotax 916, the Carbon Cub UL, and so many other things that really made a difference. The Bose A30, the latest stuff from Lightspeed, and so many other companies that were innovating and pushing aviation forward, not just positively, but swiftly. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, let's get to really serious business. Gary, keeping aviation safe is a constant proposition. It's the job of dedicated flight instructors, educators from throughout the industry. You're certainly one of those. Let's talk about some of your latest efforts.
That'd be great. And thanks again for having me. You know, you all do so much for GA safety by spreading the word. It's really an honor to be here again.
Well, it was either that or get a real job, and that's not going to happen. So we're happy to be here.
That's what I say.
There you go. Talk to me first about, you're involved in a really intriguing training program involving a helicopter operator. Tell me what happened there. That's kind of intriguing to say the least.
Yeah, so for the people that may not know me, supposedly I'm the top expert in the world at teaching really good pilots to be great at new GPS, autopilots, and glass panels. In fact, my nickname is GPS. I'm the guy in the pink shirt, like the pink line on GPS. But one of the things that has always concerned me is large commercial operations and jet jobs and fleets require all new pilots to take type training. They have to learn how to fly the new helicopter. They have to learn to fly the new jets. But there's never been any FAA or formal requirement for avionics training. And that, it wasn't necessary 20 years ago because an ILS was an ILS. But now, the Avidyne IFDs are so far advanced. Garmin GTNs, they're so far advanced that really good pilots don't ever take formal training, and they don't know how to work it quickly in emergencies. So the leader in helicopter sightseeing, the best company in the world, Temsco Helicopters out of Alaska, is one of the largest helicopter sightseeing flights, and they do fire support and mining and search and rescue. They had a really interesting problem. They get 50 new pilots every spring and who have never flown turbine helicopters. So they're doing, long in-dock flight training on how to work the helicopters, but they didn't want to use up flight instructor time and burn in 60 gallons an hour of Jet A to learn how to work the buttonology on the new Avidyne IFD 550s, which are so far advanced. So we've partnered up with Temsco Helicopters, me, the guy in the pink shirt from pilotsafety.org, and we have done the first program designed for Part 135 operators in the world that is avionics training. I've spent a couple hundred hours developing a custom design program just for what they need with their specialized mission. We spent 2 days in Ketchikan, Alaska, training the instructors as a trainer program. But what's so exciting, Jim, is Eric Eichner, the chief pilot and the grandson of the founder for Temsco Helicopters, has always led the sightseeing industry in safety. And he said, we're going to be the first, and this is a no-brainer. All new hire pilots must go through my 4-hour online program that is approved and meets all the requirements for Part 135 training before they come to day one.
Okay.
And it's saving Temsco Helicopters thousands of dollars per client, and they know their pilots are going to be much, much safer. And that's what Temsco Helicopters is all about. How do we make the whole sightseeing industry safer and better? And we just think it's kind of revolutionary.
Well, sounds like. So what was the main approach? What was it that you thought was necessary to start with? How did you proceed with an instructional program that could be utilized in this way?
Well, it was such a fun challenge because my expertise is teaching people how to be great at single pilot IFR. Well, sightseeing helicopter pilots don't go IFR. They don't use 90% of what I teach, but they have this really challenging, unique environment with custom waypoints. So I had to spend weeks really creating something brand new that was specialized just for them. But that was the challenge, is taking a really great safety-based company and providing something that's never been done before. And we're now talking to several large fleets about doing the same thing. I think it's going to save a lot of lives. I think it's going to save large fleet operators huge amounts of money. I just think it's kind of a new idea, but so far people are loving it.
Well, helicopter operations, especially this is not so much on demand, but a situation where you're keeping it as something similar to a schedule, and you've got people who are trying to take tours and so forth on some set schedule, is a tremendous and demanding thing to do. You're dealing with environments that at times aren't necessarily really kind to helicopters, so having all the necessary information and knowing how to utilize it is a criticality one issue.
Yeah.
It's to me, the fact that you're doing this, to me, is not a surprise. It's just the surprise is what it takes so long.
Yeah. Their biggest concern from day one was, we don't do any IFR procedures, but we need to develop escape from accidental IMC and a sudden whiteout, because they're in the mountains of Alaska.
Yeah.
And that's what was so cool about developing this program.
Not exactly a kind and forgiving environment.
It's really not, and these pilots are brand new. They're very good, and the training they get from Temsco is amazing, but now we can use the technology better to help. So,
well, more power to you.
I'm proud to do it.
I'm very curious to see, once there's some time and grade, just what kind of results you get from all that, and more important, what you learn from the process to modify and upgrade the programs in the future.
I got to tell you, I want to take this nationwide to every fleet, whether you've got an advanced Avidyne FMS program, or you have a really good Garmin GPS equipment, or, I've done some really cool things, but I want to take avionics training to the fleets. I just want to change the world. I think it'll make a big deal.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch. You're certainly going to have to keep us up to date on what's happening and so forth, and I'm dying to see what happens once you get some time and grade. That's going to be a really educational process, to say the least.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, well, indeed. You showed me a project you were working on as well, CFI Pro Tips. Tell me what you're doing with this, and more important, just where is this targeted?
Okay, so my single pilot IFR Pro Tips book, which you got one of the first copies, huge bestseller. We sold 5,000 copies the first year. Thank you so much. And people said,
"Well, good run."
Yeah, and we're still selling several thousand a year. And people said, "Well, what's your next book?" And I go, "Well, I really want to do a CFI Pro Tips video course." The average flight instructor today now teaches for less than 1 year before they move on to a career goal. So,
what you call a license to kill.
Right. So the time-building CFIs absolutely care about safety. The myth that they don't care is not true, but they haven't had time to pick up the experience. So Avemco Insurance is so involved in safety, actually donated $6,000 to me to pay for me to develop the first 2 video courses, which are free to any flight instructor or instructor trainee. And I went, I want it bigger. So we're going to add 4 more videos and this. And this is a very early rough draft. It's a CFI Pro Tips book that is going to be several hundred pages that I'm proud to say that I am investing $50,000 of my own money to pay for the production, printing, and shipping and I'm going to take that $6,000 starter from Avemco and I'm going to put $50,000 in, and we're going to give this book away for free forever to every flight ground instructor or instructor candidate that will simply take one. And we're going to give them away for free, but I have a caveat. I'm willing to spend a little bit of money, and I'm willing to invest a couple hundred hours of my time, Jim, if you promise me one thing.
What's that?
I don't have to write the whole thing. Because I've got 2 decades of teaching, but CFI pro tips from one person wouldn't be a good book. It's only my point of view. So
there are a lot of people out there with a lot to offer under the circumstances, and reaching out to that community could be really instructive, so to speak.
Right. So I'll print it and I'll edit it, but it's not written by me. It's written by flight instructors, ground instructors, and you know, some of the best tips and stories we've got out of here came from low-time private pilots. Hey, my flight instructor did something really cool that most people don't ever get to see. Or my flight instructor didn't teach me this and I wish they had.
There you
so
go.
I need your help, and I need help from all your viewers. If you want the free videos in the book, I'd love to send you one, absolutely. They're going to be delivered at Oshkosh and will be given out for free for the first time in the Avemco booth, which is so fitting, because they're such big sponsors of safety. But if everybody will simply go to pilotsafety.org, whether you're an instructor or not, or you want to be an instructor, and click on CFI Pro Tips, there's a form where they can submit their tip or their story. They'll be listed as a published co-author, which is big credibility, and I will link to their personal website and promote whatever product or service they want to sell if they'd like, and we can change the world.
Well, as you and I discussed, there's a lot of problems with initial CFIs coming into the industry because they're taught to be good pilots with basic skills and no real world experience outside of what they get in that first couple hundred hours. And yet they're thrust into the flight instruction environment where they are not only expected to teach what they know, but to teach. And so little time is being given to that topic. And then there's the other issue. We're having an inordinate amount of accidents with new CFIs because they are unprepared for all the ways that students are going to screw up and potentially try to kill them, for lack of a better way to put it. We've had some horrible accidents the last couple of years to very good novice CFIs that were simply unprepared for the environment they were in. And I'm working on a program with SAFE, with the Hoover Foundation. We're certainly happy to help you with this, but more important to get the word out to people that there are pieces of information out there that can be shared among the flight instructor cadre to help them be more effective, to build better students, to survive the process. And not the least little thing of all of this, enjoy the process a great deal more.
You know, the thing that bothers me so much about new CFIs, everyone says, oh, time builders don't care, and that's totally wrong. I've never met a young CFI who was doing it to build hours to get to an airline job that didn't actually care if his people were safe. He didn't care if they passed their check right. I've never met that person. But they just don't, the CFI training is not about how to teach.
No.
It's memorizing regulations and learning the rules. So, what?
And unfortunately, fundamentals of instruction and test is the biggest joke in the world.
You know what?
That's awful.
You know what I know about RUAC, rote understanding application correlation, is that I memorized it. I learned it by rote. Right? So the thing that bothers me most about young flight instructors, or flight instructors I've met that have been teaching for 10 or 15 years, they've never heard of SAFE, the Society of Aviation Flight Educators, which does, like you guys have your own CFI program. Yep. They've never heard of NAFI, the National Association of Flight Instructors, which has all these CFI pro things. They've never heard of the FAA Wings program. So that's what this Pro Tips book is.
They're just cramming in everything they can under the circumstances, and because of the fact that we've short-circuited the process from CFI to airline job, they're not being out there running checks at 2 in the morning in the beach. They're not teaching the Okefenokee Flight School and learning how to fly the Aztec that they've been lusting after, and all the other things that go with working their way up the progression the way we used to. And now it's just wham, bam, let's get into that right seat. And it's not a good process.
No, and there's no way for them to get the experience to be a good instructor unless we give it to them.
Bingo.
And a big part of this book is that people need to join SAFE. And they need to join NAFI, and they need to be active in the FAA Wings program, and they need to take advantage of AOPA's safety stuff that if they knew about, they would.
The Pilot Proficiency Center at Oshkosh has some great programs that are available at CFIs, or for that matter, just cruising around and looking at what people are asking for or trying to learn or trying to see or sharpening your skills, sitting in a sim, whatever it is. It's the cheapest education you're ever going to find in aviation.
If they knew they could watch this TV series or read your magazines, they would.
Yeah.
If they knew the Bonanza Society had these great programs. Tom Turner.
Tom, brilliant.
The guru of safety.
Bit of a character, but brilliant.
Oh, he's so good. If they knew about stuff that Rod Machado and the Kings and Gold Seal and all these cool providers had, they would, and that's what I want the book to be. I just want them to go, I can read through the book in 2 hours and read just a short little tip. I'm going to share one with you.
Okay.
One of the best tips I've gotten so far is from a new CFI named Edgar Vasquez Hinojos. Hi, Edgar, from Arizona. He's been teaching 2 years. This topic is about teaching aeronautical decision making. And this is one of the best tips I've gotten. He says, avoid making the no-go decision for the students. Let them get there on their own, but guide them. And I asked, well, what would you do differently if you were a brand new instructor today? And he'd say, I would slow down, take my time, and enjoy the flights more.
There you go.
But what a great tip.
And yet, it's really basic. It's really basic. And it's funny, the stuff you learn along the lines, I was telling somebody a story the other day. When I was working, I was teaching aerobatics out in Southern California many years ago. I literally had my bacon saved by a conversation I'd had with a glider instructor a number of years before. Because tandem environments and the fact that your student's in front of you and not necessarily as accessible and so forth and so on. And I'm literally teaching a spin series to somebody employed by a federal agency who's supposed to be working flight testing.
Sure.
First initial F, last initial A, and an A in the middle. And they'd never done serious 6-turn spins before, even in a decathlon. Decathlon, after about 3 turns or so, gets into a nice stable state auto rotation. He froze. Okay, wrap the stick, can't get it. And I'm told the smartest thing to do, if he's got a headset on or not headset, push it off, clap him on the ears, they will let go of the stick.
Yeah.
And, there I am recovering at 1,700 instead of 4,000, and just kind of looking around going, okay, that could have been fun. But it was just a conversation I'd had years before, and it just came right to mind because this guy is not letting go. He's not listening. He doesn't know what's going on. He's confused, whatever. And whammo, off we go.
Would you send that to me and let me put that?
Absolutely.
That's the whole
There's
point.
A bunch. What would be fun too is
that's the whole point of that.
We've got a bunch of video with Bob Hoover talking about teaching, and he has some funny stories about teaching kids coming over for World War II and getting their first fighter slots and everything else. And some of them are funny, and some of them can't be repeated. Still dealing with 20-year-olds, you know how that goes. But we should find some of that stuff, dig it up for you.
See,
because Bob loved talking about instruction.
That's the kind of stuff that I need your help. I need these tips from the viewers. If you have something so cool like that, that could actually save the life of a brand new instructor. And if we give this to ATP and Embry-Riddle for free, they'll absolutely give it out to their students. And knowing that clap the ear thing could save a life.
Yeah, it was just
that's what we want to do.
It was a unique flight instruction environment. You weren't sitting side by side, no elbow in the ribs, no this or that, or hey, you hearing me or anything like that. And you can't even see the expression on the face. You don't really know what's happening to the student unless they're communicating with you. And this is the thing you learned from gliders right from the beginning, was that You had to have a sixth sense about what your student was doing, because you're on short final in a glider and decide that the student's too wrapped up in something or scared or whatever the case may be. You've got a good chance of hurting a glider or yourself.
Yet nobody tells the new CFIs
No.
that a lot of primary students will pull the mixture instead of the throttle when they're landing, and you say powered idle, and they just grab the wrong knob.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, the first time it happened to me, I was a little bit startled. After 2 decades of teaching, well, I don't teach primary anymore, but after 6 years of teaching private pilot students, I would not even be looking down. I'd just be looking for traffic, and I would just hear the change, and one finger would just push that mixture back in because I knew it was going to happen. But the first time it happened was a little
I love
it. You've had people do that to you, I guarantee
dear God,
it.
yes.
Right.
Well, back when I was flying skydivers, they did it on purpose just to bust my chops. But
right.
we learned how to keep them from doing that anymore.
Right.
They not only do that, but they grab the mag keys, pop them in their mouth, and jump. So I got really good at dead sticking with 206, but we taught them how to fix that the best way possible, because one day they decided they were going to go through all this, and I could hear them conspiring, we're going to get them today, blah, blah, blah. And it was fun, and big runway, so nobody really cared. But sure enough, I knew it was coming, but the last jump on the end of the day was, this is a drop zone in Talco, Oklahoma, near the Talco County seat, and they had the Talco County Fair going on at the same time.
Okay.
But they decided the last jump of the day was, well, skydivers are free spirits. So last jump of the day was basically a parachute and a pair of boots, and that was it. So we get to about 2,000, 2,500 feet or so, at which point I start messing with the mixture, and so it was, hey, we got a problem, get out. Left them out right over the county fair, and they never pulled that on me again, because they're all wrapping parachutes around them and trying to explain to the cops why they're wearing nothing but a pair of boots. And
well, it fell off in the wind.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it's called getting even. Those were the days. Young and stupid and full of this and that. Tell you what, Gary, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege.
Jim,
you do God's work, and I appreciate that. It's
Thank
one of the
you for
reasons why
everything.
you're always welcome anywhere we go. Spend some airtime with us, and we'll definitely be talking more and more in the days to come. Folks, I'll tell you what, we have hit the end of day 2 and the first day of our interview series. We will be back tomorrow at 1100 Eastern Time, airborne-live.net, live.net. This is the 15th year that we've done this on behalf of AEA. They've been phenomenal partners. They're a great organization, and this is a great community to work with, and we have a ball with them. We're tremendously excited by projects we have for the year. We're 80 some odd days from Oshkosh, and got great things in the winds for that. On top of it, if you hadn't heard otherwise, we are hard at work on my 21st book, the all-digital version of the highly regarded Sport Plane Resource Guide series. The last one was about this thick and 1,100 pages and weighed 6 pounds. And boy, around that time, throwing the book at somebody was actually a really dangerous thing to do. But we're going all digital, which means audio, video, this and that, updates that can happen every day. The biggest compendium on sport aviation, affordable aviation that's ever been published. We're tremendously excited about what we're going to do with that. It's like 80, 90 chapters on how to rivet and how to cover and how to fly a gyro and how to do this and how to do that. Directories for airplanes, directories for engines, directories for avionics and accessories of all kinds, parachutes, you name it. And then appendices, where do you find your local EAA chapter? Where's the FSDO office? Where do I find this AC? All these things are the things that we're building, and now in an electronic format, adding audio, video, webinars, newsletters, all to the process to keep it up to date. We're excited about that. Additionally, this year I accepted the executive directorship of the Bob Hoover Legacy Foundation. It's my second time at bat. First time was lovely. We were working with a really great board under the command of Tracy Forrest, who unfortunately we lost to a brain tumor sometime later. Tracy was a real interesting guy, had a CJ3 at a construction company, and he and I would gallivant all over the country on business that we were conducting for both. Working on the Bob Hoover Foundation is one of the greatest privileges I've ever had, because I was close friends with Bob, and the thing I miss most these days are the weekly calls that would start out with Bob going, "Jim, what kind of trouble you in this week, son?" It was so much fun. I will remember him always, and I have an obligation that the things he felt passionate about, the future of aviation, what was happening to the aviation community, the pilots of tomorrow, this is what he went literally to his dying day concerned about, and so am I. You'll be hearing about projects that we've got coming up with SAFE. We've got projects that we're working with a number of people, including Gary, and I'm tremendously excited about what we're going to do in the coming years in Bob's name, in Bob's memory, and solely in keeping with what he believed was important. So, enough of that, enough of the commercials. Do go check www.sportplane.com for initial data on the Sport Plane Resource Guide. The first few hundred pages will be made public in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to grow it from there. This thing's going to be about 2,000 pages, so keep an eye out for that. A little light reading, but you'll be able to read it on your iPad or iPhone or what have you, so that stuff is coming. But for now, this has been the 66th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. I am so pleased to be backed up by exceptional folks here. Behind the curtain, Nathan Cremesina, our chief videographer. Behind the camera, T. Woods. My wife is organizing and running crazy and keeping up with the schedule and so forth. Jana Phillip is out here talking to folks about what we're doing next. I've got folks back in the office. Holland Lee is working on Airborne, and there's a new episode due out today, and so many other things happening. We're tremendously excited, so stay with us. Airborne-live.net tomorrow, Aero-News.net on normal everything. This has been the 66th Annual AEA Convention Trade Show, Day 2, fini. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new, ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. And a direct upgrade for all True Blue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install. Backed by the best. True Blue Power, the USB experts.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
For some 30 years, the Sport Plane Resource Guide